in strategic ways, that you would help us to recognize that our well-being has more to do with our county than Madison or Washington, but those who surround us, those right across the street. Recognizing that in seeking the welfare of our neighbors, we make life better for ourselves as well. And as yard signs are being taken down, and some of them with some spite in them, we ask that ill will toward one another would diminish as well, and goodwill would prevail. I'm grateful and humbled to share life in St. Croix County, and for all those for whom I share roads and schools and medical facilities and stores and labor and entertainment. We recognize and confess that we are a blessed people here, and we don't take these gifts for granted. I ask for the ongoing health of our county. In order for that to happen, we need humble, wise, committed leadership. And I lift up these leaders who are gathered here, both those who are voted on and those who are appointed, with the positions of impact that they hold. I ask that you keep their egos in check and make their deliberations about the welfare of those around us, that you'd give them clarity of thought and communication so that this body may prosper and the citizens would be served well. And even as they make decisions that are business-like, may you protect them from teaching people like commodities, treating them like commodities. May they be both wise and winsome as they seek to serve their neighbors. May they reflect the dignity that is to be afforded all who bear your great image. And so equip these leaders for that gift. Amen.
As for roll call, as we're getting used to our new system here, everyone is here with the exception of Supervisor Swanepoel, who is excused, and I believe that Supervisor Hanson is on his way and will be joining us shortly. So we're going to proceed with public comment, and I've gotten a lot of public comment cards, but it appears that all of them are related to the proposed 2025 budget. So for all of those who would like to speak regarding the budget, there'll be a public hearing shortly that you will have the opportunity to do so. So at this time, I would welcome anyone that has public comment regarding any other issue or other than the 2025 proposed budget. Would anyone like to address the board for public comment other than the budget? Anyone like to join us for public comment? Okay, we'll move on. To our consent agenda, do we have a motion for the consent agenda? Motion to approve the consent agenda by Supervisor Burning. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Supervisor Lind. And we are ready to vote on that. Okay, where's my vote? Okay, the motion to approve a consent agenda is approved. We're going to move on to our presentation of the West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission and Revolving Loan Fund Annual Presentation.
All right. Good afternoon / good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to come before you and the board here today with our annual update from the West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. That is your planning commission, as well as the Regional Business Fund, which operates our revolving loan fund.
So that mouse right there, you can control switch over to
Thank
the
you.
other tab. There you go.
All right. This is fun. So I'll be driving here on this slideshow. So we like to give everybody an update as to where we've been over the last year plus, so kind of the last 12 months, but in this case, kind of a little bit more than 12 months. I started in this position as Executive Director. Again, my name is Scott Allen. I'm the Executive Director for West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. We are shortened by, as you see here, the acronym WCW-RPC, or sometimes refer to ourselves simply as West Central Regional Planning or Regional Planning. I started in this position May of last year, so it was before you last year's first time here in your new facilities. This is amazing, wonderful, beautiful. Thank you for the opportunity again to speak before you here this evening, knowing that you do have a full agenda with the budget and many individuals who like to speak on behalf of that. So we'll try to keep our comments brief and just give you some updates as to where things have been over the last 12 plus months as it relates to the region as a whole, but specifically then to St. Croix County. So regional planning commissions, there are 9. I'll show the map here in a moment. But your regional planning commission was created in 1971. So we've been with you for over 50 years. We are slated under state statute to kind of work under a lot of different categories or topics: community planning, demographics, economic development, grants, mapping, natural resources planning, public administration, and transportation. And we have a little bit of all of those that happen within St. Croix County in particular as well. Again, here's that map of the 9 regional planning commissions. We are number 9 simply because of the alphabet, but you can see there the 9 throughout Wisconsin. There are a few counties around Dane County, near to Milwaukee, that are not within a regional planning commission. I would say that's always been that way, but essentially, for the most part, has always been that way. But otherwise, all the other counties are within a regional planning commission. There are 7, as you can see here, in the West Central region. And again, stretching here from St. Croix and Polk County in the west, all the way to Clark County on the east. So we are governed by 21-member commissions. So again, with those 7 counties, that's 3 per county. I'll show the list of that here in a momentarily. The appointments are made by yourselves, and those are done every even number of years. So that was done just earlier this year. And within that, each county is slated to have an executive committee member. So there's a 7-member executive committee as well that kind of handles a little bit more, like I would say, day-to-day operations, but kind of more of the administrative sides of things on behalf of the commission as a whole. So within St. Croix County, you can see the 3 members here, 3 commissioners. Supervisor Burning is new. Welcome to our commission. And we said goodbye to Supervisor Barklow in that case. Supervisor Hanson has been with us for a bit. Good to see you again. And then also Commissioner Seacard, who is also on town board, village board, I should say, Village of Somerset, but he is your representative on that executive committee. So that's what you see here with all the different counties. Two of the counties choose to have all three of their commissioners be county board supervisors. Those are Barron County and Chippewa County. But you, like the other counties, other five other counties that choose to do two supervisors, county board supervisors, and one, quote, citizen member. So one that is not essentially on the county board. So it's kind of a mix. It's up to each county to choose their three commissioners, again, every even numbered year. Moving on, you can see here, this is our organizational chart. There are 15 staff members, 14 full-time, 1 part-time. You can see here 2 administrative staff members. Our financial manager is the 1 part-time. We have 9 planners on staff, senior planner, associate planners, and assistant planners. New this year, we have also Deputy Director, Susan Backey, is also a senior planner as well. So she assists administratively with a number of things in that capacity. I'll be touching on that here shortly. You may be speaking with or meeting with or seeing Susan a little bit more regularly the next several months as she's working on the St. Croix County Housing Study. So she's the staff member assigned to that. We also have 3 Regional Business Fund staff members, including our lending specialist, Amanda Veith, who will be speaking here momentarily as I tag her up here in just a moment. Again, and she'll talk a little bit more about that too. Both she and fund manager Toby Lemahue kind of divide the 7 counties in terms of providing more personalized service to each of the counties, and Amanda's kind of handles kind of the western half of our region, which includes St. Croix County. So what is the goal of the Regional Planning Commission? We assist units of government in planning for the physical, social, and economic development needs of the region. We do this in 3 basic ways. We serve as a coordinating organization between federal and state agencies. We also assist units of government working on issues that occur at that regional level. And we provide technical assistance, advice, and services directly to individual units of government, not just to counties, but certainly to cities, villages, and towns as well within each of the 7 counties. One of those, again, technical assistance items that we provide is housing studies, of which we're doing that here for St. Croix County. Again, services are kind of summarized into 4 general areas: economic development, transportation, community development, conservation, and mapping. So it's kind of a summary of those state statute items that I mentioned a little bit earlier. The photo here, for example, this is us at the Farm Technology Days in Chippewa County back in August. So we again kind of have some displays and presentations we can provide, again, to individual counties, but also on these regional and statewide events as well. So not to read each of these individually, but these is just highlight of some of the different types of projects and programs within each of those 4 categories. One of those I'll highlight, it's in your folder. On the left-hand side is the county economic profile. That's something we update each year, so that was just updated back in May. We also provide transportation services. Many of those are focused in some of the more urban areas, but we do some rural plans as well, including pedestrian bicycle facilities plans or bike and ped plans for typically on a county-wide basis as well. I'll talk a little bit about safe routes to school plans momentarily too. Community development is kind of the catch-all for a lot of the different types of planning that you're maybe more traditionally familiar with. Zoning subdivision regulations, land use planning, grant writing and administration is kind of a catch-all. We do a lot of grant assistance and preparation for communities from, again, county down to town level. Hazard mitigation planning, I'll highlight that here in a moment. And then also conservation and mapping, we provide some of those technical assistance, especially for some of the smaller communities that don't have that professional technical assistance. St. Croix County is very well blessed with an excellent county planning staff. So again, as you know, you recently completed a comprehensive plan without any of our assistance, which is great. It's great to see counties and communities have that commitment and dedication to providing that service in-house. but there are a number of communities that obviously don't have that for a lot of different reasons, and we try to fill that gap with services like what you see from your county planning staff. So to highlight some of those specific projects and programs that we've been working on in the last 12+ months here in St. Croix County, we've been working with kind of facilitating and providing administration on this broadband implementation group that's kind of been divided in a regional sense throughout the state, helping with some of the grants that are related to that, as well as just general programmatic and infrastructure planning. We've been participating pretty actively lately in the West Central Wisconsin Rail Coalition, and more specifically, the Chippewa-St. Croix Rail Commission. You may have seen some of their press releases that have been going out the last couple weeks that highlighting some of that future passenger rail that's occurring in the region. Again, they actually just announced that the Chippewa-St. Croix Rail Commission selected HDR Engineering to lead scoping for the Eau Claire to Twin Cities passenger rail project. And that includes, and I'll show a map here in a moment, a few different stops that would occur in St. Croix County. We also staff the stormwater outreach coordinator position for Rain to Rivers in western Wisconsin. That's essentially the education component related to MS4 permits that a number of urban communities are required to have. Members in St. Croix County include City of Hudson, City of New Richmond, and the City of River Falls. As I mentioned, we prepare those annual county economic profiles. And just in your September meeting, you adopted the new St. Croix County multi-hazard mitigation plan or hazard mitigation plan. We do those as well for each of the 7 counties. So congratulations on adopting that just very recently. And we're also wrapping up a joint Village of Roberts and Town of Warren comprehensive plan. A very unique approach to have a joint village and town comprehensive plan, kind of future land use plan. It's been rewarding, but also challenging, as you can imagine. We have 2 of our senior planners assigned to that, a number of other support staff to help make that come to fruition for the village and the town there. Again, wrapping that up. Just started the county housing study. We've been working with your new EDC director to get that started. So Susan Backey, again, our deputy director and senior planner, has been doing a number of stakeholder interviews this week and next week. So if you haven't spoken with her, you may catch wind of others who have been speaking with her on a specific stakeholder level. We also provide the City of Hudson with some transit services, their shared ride taxi program, doing administration for that. I know with their new city administrator, we're working on how that transition may happen to be more of an in-house service for them in the next year. And then finally, we're ramping up to provide a new Safe Routes to School plan for the Glenwood City School District. That's looking to get started next spring. And the plus to that leaves just the Somerset School District as the only school district without a Safe Routes to School plan here in St. Croix County. So filling in the gaps throughout the whole region with some specific funding that's been dedicated through the federal government and the state for Safe Routes to School planning. Again, to provide essentially what it's called Safe Routes to Schools, to provide that plan to allow additional access for students and providers to access schools in their neighborhoods and region beyond just through buses and vehicles, but through walking and biking. So I mentioned the Chippewa-St. Croix Rail Commission. This is a map that they've provided. They produced there on the right that highlights generally the location of where stops may occur, or at least some of the kind of population centers that would be participating or utilizing this rail service. So again, that scoping project is just getting announced and just moving on. With that, again, you can see here the Borealis. This is the Amtrak line. It's additional service from Chicago to the Twin Cities. You may have heard of that. That's going through the same kind of general geography, related but kind of not related because that's a little bit longer haul route. This one Chippewa-St. Croix Commission's working on is more strictly Eau Claire, again, through Dunn County and St. Croix County into Minnesota. I mentioned the Rain to Rivers program. It's kind of the education part of stormwater management that more urban communities are utilizing. Actually participated in an open house last October and helping to host that through the Saltwise Coalition at the state. Again, it's providing education on salt use, road salt use to private companies, but also to county highway departments as well. You can see here on the slide. So that was hosted at one of your newer facilities as well. So I'll kind of wrap up with our budget, kind of where we are. This is our budget for this year as we're wrapping up the year in terms of where we utilize or where we receive funds. And those include, I'd like to point out that top left, kind of the 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock green wedge highlights our levy. That's essentially funds that come from each of the 7 counties directly. So there are funds through some of our contracts. That's the purple wedge of about 1/3 of our funds come from outside contract services. Again, all those different categories of projects I mentioned. But again, the levy is what comes more directly from each of the 7 counties. And again, that's about 17%. That's averaged over the last 10 to 15 years, anywhere from 15 to 20%. So right around 17 or 16% last couple of years, including going into next year. And that's what we see here. So St. Croix County funding is right around that $75,000 to $80,000 amount last year, this year, and going into next year. So overall, the commission reviews the levy and the moving forward each March. So this was a number that was already identified this past March for 2025, and they were looking at a 3% increase for all 7 counties combined. If you do the math here, what that means for St. Croix County, it's about 1.75% increase. So certainly not the 3%, just based on number of funds that you've already been providing. So again, some counties are over that 3%, some are under, like St. Croix County, but overall the average is 3% increase. That's kind of in line, again, inflation and cost of living increases, and that's where the commission usually looks at that kind of middle number over the last few years. So that's the funding that we see there, and I always like to close with kind of benefits to regional planning. We too, being kind of quasi-governmental, we operate with the same public and fiscal accountability to local governments that you do. We offer that neutral forum, though, for exploring and resolving intergovernmental issues. For example, again, helping facilitate such things as that regional rail coalition. We provide an opportunity to partner and leverage funds. Again, Amanda will talk a little bit more about that in terms of how services like the Regional Business Fund and our revolving loan fund assist with that. Again, we have those professionals, as I identified, who are very specialized in what they do, very different types of projects and programs. And again, we fill that gap in planning, perhaps not necessarily directly to St. Croix County in terms of the county board itself or county staff, but in terms of a number of your smaller governmental units within the county. And then again, we act as a repository for a lot of demographic and other types of information like you see in that economic profile. And so with that, I will close with other things you should know about us. Again, we have the same kind of commitment to the well-being of our region. We are accountable to each of the counties through the commission. We have the tools and expertise to drive progress throughout the region. And we have decades of experience. We have one of our senior planners has been with the commission itself, not just his own experience, but the commission itself over 21 years. And we also have deep-rooted connections to the region. So we all live and work within the West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission region. Again, we serve that public mission as well. As I mentioned, we leverage funding, take on challenging tasks, operate that multi-jurisdictional mission as well, and offer unique services that are sometimes unavailable elsewhere, such as helping put together your new county housing study. So with that, I will turn it over to Amanda, and then maybe we'll have a few minutes for some questions.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda, as Scott has mentioned. I am the lending specialist for the West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. I came in right after Scott, so I'm new to this group, so thanks for having me. Most of my time is devoted to working on the contract that the Regional Business Fund has with the Regional Planning Commission. So the background on that is that the Regional Business Fund, or RBF, is a nonprofit and was created by the Regional Planning Commission to administer that business revolving loan fund. The nonprofit RBF is staffed by West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. And on the slide, the picture is Toby and I. She's the fund manager. For the Regional Business Fund, there is a 9-member board of directors. You can see the 9 board members on this slide. As you'll see, Marina Onken is still listed as the St. Croix County's current representative. We thank her for her years with us and welcome the Aaron Sundin, who you just appointed tonight. So we're happy to have him with us going forward. What the Regional Business Fund does is we offer low-interest loans to businesses that provide an economic benefit to the region. As you can see, we cover that same 7-county region there. We have flexible loan dollars, and they can be used for a variety of business purposes and financing needs. The listed programs do not compete with traditional banks and credit unions. Rather, we provide a source of additional funding and a source of capital when it's needed. I'm not going to talk too much about each program in particular, but you should have a little brochure in your handouts. You can contact us or look at our website if you need more information. This slide just shows the St. Croix County impact since inception. We have assisted 184 businesses in St. Croix County, including 83 startups. We've done 192 loans, and that's probably a little old of a number. With $15 million in financing, they have projectedly created almost 1,200 jobs in the area and leveraged over $126 million in private funding. So a lot of impact there with the funds going out and getting repaid over and over. And then I'd just like to highlight some recent St. Croix County businesses that we've assisted. So this first one is Apple River Chiropractic in Somerset. Our microloan fund program is meant to assist startup businesses that are younger than 2 years of age. These funds can be used in conjunction with bank or credit union financing, but we can also be the sole source of financing in this program if bank or credit union funding cannot be obtained. This is most commonly used for working capital, startups, costs, equipment, and build-outs. Apple River Chiropractic, they utilize some other funds to outfit and equip their space, and we came in and helped them out with some working capital needs. The second program highlighted here is our Facade Loan Fund program. That is an incentive program meant to assist with revitalizing downtown commercial buildings. Each municipality has provided us a map of what is considered their downtown. And while other loans require that the businesses operate out of the location, the facade loan does not. So it's just to renovate those businesses downtown. Doesn't matter if you have a business out of there or not. So this one is A&E Mason Properties in downtown Hudson. They took advantage of the facade loan to install new windows and doors, update the brickwork, and paint their location. If you know this area at all, right down the street, Noki's Chocolates also took advantage of the facade loan funds as well. So the next program I have here is the Growth Loan Fund program. That was created to assist existing businesses that have over 2 years that cannot obtain traditional financing. In similarity to the microloan, it can be used with or without bank or credit union financing. It's most commonly used for equipment or construction. The example here is Rush River Brewing in River Falls. They were able to utilize this funding to install handicap accessible bathrooms in their facility when the bank was unable to help them with that. And then our biggest loan program is the Growth Loan Fund program. This is what we spend the majority of our time doing. This loan requires participation from a primary financial institution, and the majority of funds are provided by that financial institution. There may be some other sources, and the Regional Business Fund can participate up to 25% of a project cost. This is commonly utilized for down payment assistance, working capital, or blue sky costs when purchasing a business. This particular example is DLS Group, aka Growing Wings in Somerset, Wisconsin. They had a large project to build a new adult family home for individuals with cognitive disabilities. We assisted along with the bank and the SBA to fund their construction costs. And then I'd like to just recognize everyone who contributes to the St. Croix County Regional Planning Commission, the representatives that are on our loan committees, and that make our organization work. So again, we've got Marina listed there as our board member, and we welcome Aaron in that role. And then you can see our RBF St. Croix County loan committees. They decision most of the loans that go through our programs. So Adam, Rick, Mark, Lynn, James, and Julie currently, and we will be receiving another representative from Hudson soon, so that's exciting. And then I'd like to give a thank you to Melissa of the St. Croix County EDC and any economic development partners who talk about our program and share our information with potential borrowers. So thanks for everyone having us this evening. Does anyone have any questions for Scott or I?
Any questions for Scott or Amanda? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. We appreciate the presentation.
Thank
Thank you
you.
as well.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to our county administrator's report.
All right, thank you, Chair Long. I know we have a long meeting ahead of us, so I won't go into much detail, but the one thing I want to make sure that I highlight is the St. Croix County Child Support Department was awarded the WCSEA Child Support Agency of the Year. So we've had the Child Support Agent of the Year, now we have the Agency of the Year, so Heather's in that picture too, she assists them. She does a thing or two for child support. But excellent job by that department, so I wanted to make sure we highlighted them. Were there any other questions on any of the financial data in the report that I could answer for you? Oh, we have one over here.
Supervisor Rice?
I just wanted some clarity here. So you give us a cover letter and are proposing the levy breakdown. Could you help us to better understand as we consider the budget funding, the budget we're going to talk about here, the assumptions that were used regarding vehicle registration fees for 2025 and also the sales tax assumption that was used? I'm seeing a big bouncing around of both those numbers in your report.
Yep, so I'll start with the vehicle registration fee, which is displaying on your screen there. So the vehicle registration fee, you can see that it started increasing in February. At the end of 2023, the county board adopted an increase in the vehicle registration fee. Implementation took effect. We started receiving those then, and so you can see that increase. So we are budgeting 2025 at the full new vehicle registration fee rate that we would expect to receive. And all of those money go directly into the transportation, into the highway department, and they're used for road maintenance. As far as the sales tax then, you can see sales tax numbers. If you look at the top is our budgeted amount for a calendar year, fiscal year, and at the bottom was our actual collections. As you can see, we've historically done much better collecting than we have budgeting. In part, that was the philosophy that we had, that we always wanted to have a gap in there so that it recession-proofed us. So if there was a recession and sales tax collections were down, we wouldn't have to cut any programs. And then two, all of that excess we use as fund balance to move over to the KIP, where we can avoid issuing debt to do some of our KIP projects. We have a very healthy KIP fund right now, which is in large part to that philosophy that we've had for many years. And we've been able to move those funds over and avoid debt, which has saved the taxpayers money. For 2025, as we get into the budget, we did budget at 100% of the county's projected. So we did increase that by $1 million for the annual budget, up to $12.6 million, which you see will be really close to what we ended up with at the end of 2023, and should be really close to what we end up with at the end of 2024.
Any other questions for our county administrator? Okay, at this point, I would like to call to order the public hearing regarding the 2025 St. Croix county budget as proposed by the county administrator. And we're going to start out with a very brief summary by our county administrator, and then we will open it up for the opportunity for all of our citizens and the public to weigh in and provide feedback on the budget.
Yeah, so only 288 pages to go through. No, I'm just kidding. You said brief, right? All right, so the budget process, we're at the very last step here, and then we'll start back up in April. So it has been a long process. The budget was created based upon the budget priorities that the county board adopted. I'm going to skip through a lot of the numbers and details and charts, really because what I want to highlight for you is the impact, the overall impact. So at the end of the day, what's this budget looking like? What's it doing to the taxpayers? So historically for the county, our mill rate has continued to go down for the last 15 years. So that's great. So we've been seeing that. So that's what's happening in St. Croix County. How does that compare then to our peers? When you look at the mill rate compared to all the other counties, we're very, very low. We're the 8th lowest out of the 72 counties. So you're doing an excellent job compared to all of your peers. And then if you look at it on a per capita basis, on a per person basis, rather than on a per value basis, we're also rank really excellently. We're at 18th out of the 72 counties, so you're doing a good job, really based upon any metric that you have. Last page then is really just the budget. So where are the changes? So in the operating levy, it's up $1,390,000. And you remember, $896,000 of that, though, was the referendum-approved levy increase. So most of that really came from the approval by the voters. The debt service is down, and that's in part due to the donation, or contribution, I should say, from the healthcare campus as they start paying debt. And then the special purpose levies, that's the library levies, that's really driven by the number of circulations and cost per circulation. So overall, that levy rate is dropping, as we saw in that one chart. So overall, that's what the budget looks like. So I think we can go on to the public comments, and then after that, I'll entertain any questions that you have as we get to the business item.
Okay, for our public comment portion of the public hearing, we do have probably about 20 or so people that would like to speak, and we want to make sure that we give everyone the opportunity that wants to. We will be limiting you to 2 minutes, and also to make sure that we are only entertaining current residents of St. Croix County. And I just ask that I know there'll be a lot of comments on a particular topic, and I would just ask that you be very specific and concise in your comments, so that we don't have too much repetition, but we do want to make sure that we give everyone the opportunity to comment on the proposed budget. So we're going to start out with Linda Garrity, and Linda will be followed by Jeff Luke. If I mispronounce a name, cut me a little slack. So
you're right on there. It's straight from Ireland. Mr. Chairperson, members of the county board, staff. It's good to put a face with a name, and I know several of these faces and several that I don't. So I'm sure some of you are wondering, who is this redhead standing here in front of me? So first of all, I am a 23-year retired St. Croix County employee, and I'm thankful for those years. And in those years, my first 13 years were served in the child support office. And it's good to see them win that award tonight. They're well deserving. In my child support years, I would pinch hit for the director, and I would present the budget to then the finance committee with Buck Malik. And so I have a basic understanding of how your budget works. Not extensive, but some. In my predecessor years, I was the director of Enrichment's Housing Authority. And so I ran 2 federal housing programs in a cooperative agreement between HUD and the city of Enrichment. In that capacity, I wrote grants. I received federal grants, was awarded them, state grants, and in one year when I received a WIDA grant, which is the Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development, I received congratulatory letters from our senators and representatives, one of which was Alice Clausing at the time. And at the end of her letter in capital letters, she wrote, "Way to bring the money home to St. Croix County." We have UAW Extension home here already. They've been here for many generations. In my speaking with staff and with outsiders, it's my opinion that there's been a misconception or a misperception placed on the vitality and how much UAW Extension is utilized in this county and the bang we get for our buck. And the way that we, the county, have to come up with the funds for that is based on the full-time USW Extension agents and if there's part-time ones. So it can range what the county puts in from 20 to 50% of the total compensation for the agents. So in essence, in the worst-case scenario, if we put out our 50%, we're like Shark Tank, we're looking for a 50-50 match. If we don't put our money on the table, we're throwing away the 50% that the state brings into this county. I know that there are a lot of people here tonight that will speak to different aspects of UW Extension. They're more varied and wide than you may be aware of, so I'm good that you're going to be able to hear that tonight.
And Linda, if you can wrap it up, please.
Sure. And so I also am from 1957 County Road CC, which I should have said in the beginning. I'm a resident of Stark Prairie Township. Scott Counter is my representative. I own and operate a farm there, Green Gables Farm LLC, with my son. And so we heavily use the ag agent. And so I appreciate you listening tonight, and I hope that you have a good meeting.
Thank you. Jeff is next, and please be cognizant of the 2-minute time frame. Thank you. And following Jeff will be Mary Lestrude.
My name is Jeff Leck. I farm in the town of Kinnickinnick and Pleasant Valley townships. I sent out an email earlier to all the board, and I just wanted to highlight some of the things in that email that I sent out for those that may not have heard or read that. But first, I want to thank you for allowing me to take this time to express my support for funding for UW Extension. Just a little background, I am also a part-time certified crop advisor, CCA, crop consultant for about 30 other farmers and landowners. I work with them on their nutrient management plans and submit them to the county land conservation department for the farmland preservation programs as well as other programs. I used to work at the Land and Water Conservation Department for about 14 years, and prior to that, I worked for the Farm Service Agency for 8. And I worked closely with UW Extension collaboratively and on certain workshops and things over the years that have come up. So just wanted to highlight one personal thing that happened to our farm last year, and that was a hailstorm that came up and hit 100% of our cornfields. And anyways, Ryan Sterry did a case study involving hail-damaged corn versus ones that weren't hit. And this was important for us because at the time, we didn't know if we should take it for silage, disc it under, or take it for grain. And this study that he did just last year helped us with some of that decision-making process. So, you know, I utilize the extension agents quite frequently myself, from their workshops that they hold to beef quality assurance programs to disease and pest control stuff. So just a wide variety of stuff that I utilize and stuff like that. So I just wanted to thank you and to please consider supporting the funding of our UW Extension programming. This is local, unbiased, research-based science that they don't sell product or services, and you don't find that in private industry that they're there to just tell you or give you what they have for those programs. So thank you very much.
Mary, and then we'll be followed by Dave, hope I get this right, Kruschke? Close?
Hi, I'm Mary Lestrud. I worked for St. Croix County for almost 41 years at UW Extension as the family living educator most of that time. UW Extension was set up to help the university bring research into the daily lives of people here so that it didn't just benefit the students that were attending the university, but could have benefit the citizens and the towns. And their way to deliver that services was through the extension service, hiring people partly through the state, partly through the county funding that would have connections and relationships with local people. I can give you just one example from family living. I could give you a lot of examples from all 4 of our program areas, but I know time is limited. In the late 90s, we had a lot of people that were moving in here that had young families with young children, and they would call me and say, "Where's ECFE in Wisconsin?" That was a Minnesota program, early childhood family education, and they were all used to having that in every school district. They had parent education classes. They had a lot of support for young families. I said, well, we don't have it in Wisconsin. So I got together a group of school district people, professionals, some county employees, and we put together a plan, wrote for funding, and got the Family Resource Center of St. Croix County started. It later expanded to Pierce and Polk County, but it's located in Baldwin, Wisconsin. It's hired a lot of people in this county. It's served hundreds of families. It's prevented countless child abuse cases. For one thing that they have is an intensive home visiting program for families that are at risk for child abuse. Supported lots of families. They now have $1 million budget. I mean, we started with a few $100. They have $1 million budget. They just bought their building on Main Street in Baldwin and renovated it. And I think it's just an example of the kind of work that we do when we can meet with local people, see what the local needs are, and bring that research-based knowledge into our communities to actually do something good for people. And it's not just giving people information. Once we had computers and the internet, we didn't have to do that anymore. It's transforming lives. So I would consider funding it if you possibly can. I know it's easy to cut things that aren't mandated, but I think it's been funded for 100 years. I might be a little off on my years on that, but I remember the stories from World War II that I heard about people coming on the train from Madison and helping the women make mattresses and that kind of thing. So it's been going a long time, and it looks like there could be extra money in the budget for something that's important to families. Thank you.
Dave, and followed by Tara Brown. And I think the time is on that monitor, and I'm sorry that I'm keep reminding people, but just please be cognizant of the time. Thank you.
I'm Dave Kirschke we farm in Stanton Township. We're a 4th generation farm with a 5th generation working on the farm. A lot of the stuff that Extension does is not actually visible. If you have a problem, you can call one of these guys and they know who to get a hold of at the university to help you through your problem or to set up a seminar if it's needed. So a lot of their stuff is not highly visible. One thing they do is you have to have pesticide certification now to buy chemicals. That's all run through Extension. They have to provide the schooling for that. One other thing I wanted to bring up is I've been the president of the St. Croix County. I'm retired from the St. Croix County president of Farm Bureau, but I was for 30-some years. But the Farm Bureau and the Farmers Union are 2 general farm organizations that don't always agree. We go from different angles, but on this one, we both highly support continuing Extension. I think that speaks a lot for what the farmers of this county think of what the Extension does for us and what we would like it to continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Tara Brown will be followed by Tara Thomas.
Okay. I'm Tara Brown. I live in the town of Troy. I am not one to ever come and speak in a forum like this, so this is kind of new for me. But given the recent decisions with decreasing the funding is why I'm here. I'm specifically here to highlight 4-H and kind of what it's done for my family and what I've seen it do for transforming kids in the community. We have about 146 adult volunteers, over 600 youth members, but that doesn't count the youth that use some of our programs and come to some of our events, but there may not be members. So there's more kids in the community that are using 4-H and taking advantage of 4-H. It will be almost impossible for us to function with less and to ask more of our volunteers. It's been very, very lean from the time that I started in 4-H, which was 10 years ago. I didn't plan on becoming involved in 4-H. My daughter wanted to crochet. She wanted to cake decorate. I didn't know how to do it. Found 4-H. Now I'm 10 years plus into it because I see the value. All of my kids actually went through it. It's an organization that kids can find their interest, they can find their strength, and they can do it in a safe environment. And we're taking that away from the youth by cutting the funding because we need that role to help so our volunteers can do the things that they're doing. Like I said, all 3 of my kids participated in it. One specific project I want to highlight is junior leadership. All of them did junior leadership. This is where they give back in your communities. Examples, my daughter crocheted masks for the healthcare workers over COVID. One of my other daughters landscaped and repainted the sign of Gregory's Gift of Hope up in New Richmond. We do bingo nights, or bingo days, I should say, not nights, for residents at CCH. And I'm proud to say that my daughter, who's at UW-Madison, actually started a crochet club at UW-Madison, where they just donated, has a group, donated crocheted hats to the fire department. So we're taking these youth and they're becoming leaders in our community as well as wherever they land. So your financial support is really showing your support in teaching these area youth these lifelong skills so they can be effective as engaged community members, employees of local businesses, and just overall leaders. I'm not going to recite the pledge, but 4-Hers, we have a pledge at the beginning of every meeting. And we use our head, heart, and hands. And what do we use it for? To better our living for our club, our community, our country, and our world. 4-H is a very unique gift that it gives kids because it really finds their interest. And we're asking for the county to please join us by supporting this pledge and making the investment in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Tara, I'm sorry, I'm sure I messed your last name up, so I'm sorry.
No problem.
It'll be followed by Cheryl Slind.
I have a very similar story to Tara. My name is Tara Thomas. I live in Star Prairie Township. I'm a 4-H foods leader, and all 3 of my kids were lucky enough to grow up in 4-H. I just wanted to connect and give a personal story to the 4-H so you guys kind of understand how it passes down and things like that. Our kids are all older now, but their success in life now is due in part largely to 4-H and the lessons they learned there and the 4-H family that supported them. 4-H is so much more than just a club. Our kids, like countless others, experienced quite a bit of adversity during their childhood. The 4-H family and content were the constant in their lives that built solid tracks for them to follow as they grew. One now teaches agriculture and meat science and continues teaching that along. Another served 4 years in the Army, is completing college, and the youngest is a trade laborer, learning and doing needed service, all of them giving back to others. From a young age all the way through high school, they learned leadership, responsibility, how to prioritize tasks, time management, how to care for animals and other people, charity, community service, budgeting, and so much more. That's on top of the projects that they participated in: archery, skiing, food preservation, dairy judging, goats, poultry, clothing, cake decorating, dozens more. It's vast, the things that they learn at 4-H. It opened their eyes to things available to them in life and gave them the confidence to go out in the world and attain their goals and dreams. Those are just a few of the things that they learned. We as leaders also learned from them and are reminded of the importance of youth as we continue to mentor and make connections with families in the community. I ask that you please continue to help fund this, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Cheryl, and followed by Mary Luckwald.
Good evening, County Board members. Well, Bob Long and respective members of the County Board. My name is Cheryl Slind, and I come to you tonight to discuss the cutting of extension budget and the funding of 4-H to come from the unassigned fund balance and or cutting of such funding. All of you should have gotten my email urging you to support the funding for extension in St. Croix County 4-H. I want to personally thank the 3 of you who responded to me and thanking me to reach out. Today I come to you to express even my deeper support with some financial facts regarding this matter. First of all, I'd like to commend the St. Croix County Board and County Administrator Ken Witt keeping a tight rein on spending in St. Croix County, which I continue to be one of the fastest growing counties in Wisconsin. As a St. Croix County taxpayer, I appreciate this. As I explained in my email to all of you, my history is deep in working with governmental entities for the past 35 years. My positions in the past have been village clerk treasurer, county treasurer, town treasurer, and for the past 15 years working in the private sector for a municipal software company strictly in Wisconsin, still communicating on a daily basis to these municipal individuals. I feel this is important for you to know, as I have a background that understands municipal government. When researching some numbers for the county, I looked on the Department of Revenue website and found that the equalized value for the county is $17,228,113,500. While I couldn't find the current assessed value, that's typically lower than the estimated fair market. I asked the county board members to realize that if you take the extension and 4-H budget of $255,000 and divide it by your, let's say, $15 billion assessed value, what that comes out to? I can tell you. It comes out to, if you want to cut the whole $255,000, it comes out to 0.01 cents per $1,000 of value that you're cutting off your levy. And now I don't know if the mill rate that Mr. Witt presented tonight has that in it or not, but if it doesn't, we're going from $4.98 per thousand to $5. I worry that funding the 4-H by the unassigned general fund balance or the ARDC budget is a Band-Aid. Next year, then what? Pulling it from ARDC, decreasing our funding to the aging population of the St. Croix County is not the answer either. We can figure out how to fund additional areas of the county, like the Sheriff's Department, by a referendum, by which, by the way, I voted in favor of. But if we don't fund extension in 4-H, which isn't just about helping farmers, the Sheriff's Department is going to have to worry about more in the end with more juvenile issues and other police issues when it's dealing with kids who love 4-H and have nothing else to do. So I ask you today, is cutting $255,000 really the issue? The additional $255,000 cost to taxpayer is really nothing. Raise the mill rate if you have to. I'll pay my $5.
Okay, Mary. Okay, Mary Luckwald, followed by Greg Zwald.
Hello, my name is Mary Luckwald, 2606 County Road D in Woodville. I'm the leader of the second largest club, 4-H club in the county. It's called Lone Pine. I've been the leader in that club for 11 years, and for the last 5 to 6, I've been the solo leader of that club. As someone who has a vast amount of experience with 4-H, I'm going to tell you that a 4-H program without administrative support is only a partially functioning 4-H program. We need our outreach support associate to provide administrative services so that the great 4-H educational opportunities are communicated to our 4-H families and that the administrative support for our programs is provided as well. Just for example, you may not realize this, but as a 4-H leader, I have to reapply, I have to train every year, and every other year I have to do a background check. All of my 4-H families also have to sign up every year. Our 4-H support associate, Laura Hines, approves all of that. And this year, for example, once I had gone through all of that, I wasn't able to access my 4-H club list. That's a big deal, even though I have a lot of returning families in my club. That's how I contact any new families that have signed up for my club so that I can get information out to them. If I don't have that list, I can't contact them. At my house, I sent a quick email to Laura Hines, our outreach support associate, and she said to me, Mary, I just have to change something really quick in the program. Try it again. And I did, and I had it, just like that. Very easy for me. Please realize that I am a 4-H volunteer. I lead my club, but I have a business, I have a family, I have hobbies, and I have interests. I can run my club, but I need help that Laura Hines has provided me on many, many different occasions, and I know the other leaders in this room feel that same way. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg Swald will be followed by Valerie Meyer.
Greg Swald, 1482, in the town of Kinnickinnick. Thank you all for the opportunity to speak to you. I want to give you a little bit of history of extension. So you're going to hear a lot from 4-H. I went through 4-H. My whole family did. My kids did. So I am a strong supporter of 4-H. But part of extension is exactly that. It's an extension of the university research and knowledge that's shared with farmers. My father had to quit school when he was in 9th grade. He read all the time, but he counted on our county agent to be that resource person that helped him become what I call the good farmer that he was. Extension is exactly that. It is a way for knowledge to be shared with us. And so I want to speak specifically from that angle. In the mid-90s, my brother and I expanded our dairy farm. When we did that, we counted on the county agent. It was Lee Milligan at that time. He helped us financially take a look at where we were and where we needed to be in the future. Also, now this is 30 years ago, we talked about how extension had to change and adapt because as agriculture grew, specialists in private companies became the resource that many of us looked at. And we utilize those same individuals from a private aspect. But the university model is what allows us to take a look at how can we apply unbiased information to our farms. 12 years ago, I left the dairy farm. I started a U-Pick berry farm, agritourism business. We had insects in Wisconsin that came in from a foreign country. They asked me to work with them on identifying those insects, the infestation rate we had, and try to solve solutions to it. That was extension working with me from a state basis. But I am asking you to, and so extension has changed. We were asking for that 30 years ago. Probably in the last 4 to 5 years, there's been a lot of changes with extension. I'm asking that you give extension a little bit of time. Let's see if we can adapt to the changes that are needed right now. One criticism I've heard is that extension hasn't responded to some of the questions you've asked. Thank you all for looking at how can we save money on a county level. If extension doesn't respond to your needs and questions, I will not be back here in a year supporting extension. They need to be able to justify their existence. For me, they're important. Please consider extending the funding for a short time. Thank you.
Okay, Valerie, and followed by David Kruschke.
Sorry, I'm short. So my name is Valerie Meyer. I live just outside of Glenwood City. I bring two aspects of the extension that has really helped my family. One, I grew up in 4-H, and my kids are thriving through 4-H. It has given me the ability to have the career that I have, the public speaking abilities, because I do not like to be the center of attention, but I have learned to be able to learn and grow through my growth in 4-H. My kids are learning the same thing. I have a senior in high school and I have a freshman, and they are excelling. 4-H is huge in that. But also the extension support to new farmers is also huge. So I was raised, I'm a city girl, believe it or not, but I now have a farm. My husband and I decided to move to egg industry, which was great for my husband's background. But for me, most people would have never thought to see Val milking a goat. But guess what? We opened a dairy farm. We had milked dairy goats. We learned a lot, and the extension was huge. When we had questions, we had problems, they were a great resource. We also, for our financing of our farm, one of the things we had to do was go and do some programs that the extension gave us the ability to help us with our funding. But beyond farming, I also have been a dog trainer for the St. Croix County 4-H dog program for years, as did my family. The things that kids learn in those programs, I'm also a rabbit leader for the St. Croix County program, and the things that kids learn in there is how to be responsible and how to take these abilities and things that they learn and put them to their daily lives, which you will see my kids and lots of kids that I get to interact with doing that at the county fair and just daily around the county and helping and teach other people about these things. So I really urge you, St. Croix County Extension is crucial. It's been crucial to my upbringing, and it's crucial to my children's upbringing. And if my senior in high school was here right now, she would beg you, please reconsider, because she's trying to go into the egg industry. She's right now accepted into 4 college and trying to decide which one she's going to, all to be a veterinarian, because of a lot in part of what the extension has done for her. So please, I urge you to really help these kids, because without the extension, it would hurt farms, and it would also hurt the growth and development of our youth. Thank you.
So I'm not sure if this next was a duplicate. Is there a difference between Dave and David Kruschke? Okay. Depends on what they call you. Okay, let's keep moving. Cody Graff. Is Cody here, followed by Tammy Mitchell.
All right. Hello, supervisors. Thank you for letting me talk. My name is Cody Graff. I live at 644 270th Street, Woodville. I'm a lifelong resident of St. Croix County, growing up outside of Roberts, and now outside of Woodville. I feel that cutting funding for an educational and agricultural asset like the positions and programs at the UW Extension is a bad idea. Many of us have relied and have utilized the tools and resources that the programs and the staff have provided. I myself have benefited many times from learning from these programs and staff, through livestock workshops in 4-H to help with the questions, and especially through all my years in 4-H. Now my children are enrolled in 4-H, and I am very hopeful that they can succeed as I have with the help and knowledge provided by the staff and programs of the Extension Office. The staff in the Extension Office is one of the strongest supporters of and helpers of the 4-H program. The help I and numerous of my families and other families have received is invaluable. I know that times have changed, but the need for these people are still there. The work that they do is needed by many people in the county, and just because maybe you don't see it or see it within the city limits of Hudson doesn't mean they're not an asset to the rest of the county. Please support the UW Extension and its funding and the work they do and reinstate them into your budget. Thank you.
Okay, Tammy Mitchell, followed by Samantha Olson.
Hi, I'm Tammy Mitchell. I grew up in St. Croix County, out by Aaron Corners, so right in the middle of St. Croix County. I'm here to share why Extension and 4-H are important to me and my family, because I grew up with it, but it wasn't something I often found in the places we ended up as a military family. When we finally moved back home, I was so thrilled to be able to introduce my kids to 4-H and the sense of belonging and family that it offers. It wasn't always easy for my kids being the new ones in school, but 4-H was a different kind of atmosphere. They were able to go in, and it was a place where there were a lot of new kids, a lot of new people, and nobody really was permanently connected, if that makes sense. So it's been amazing for them. They're all grown now. The last one just graduated and is moving on to the Navy. but they are the people they are because of 4-H. I was a member almost 35 years ago, and my family means everything to me. And even though my dad and a few others behind me are biologically connected, I can tell you almost every face behind me is a member of my family, because we all are just there for each other. The leaders are present at events. They guide and teach the kids skills that will go way beyond projects and ribbons, teaching them to become future leaders and innovators. So this program truly enriches our community and our kids' lives. So please, I ask that you help support it for future generations. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Samantha Olson, followed by Lori DeBoer. Close.
Hi, my name is Samantha Olson. I'm in Star Prairie Township, and I'm a 4-H mom. Most of what I have written here you've already heard, so I'm not going to read through all of my stuff and just kind of talk from my heart. 2 out of my 3 kids participate in 4-H, and it's amazing. My younger son has what we refer to in the house as the stage fright. He does not like to talk in front of people. It's a whole thing. He's the kid that you're like, oh no, don't pass out when you're doing your Christmas program. But when he joined 4-H, he did talks in his group. He's getting better at all of the public speaking. He does all of his projects, and he's so proud of himself. And he will go before all of those judges, and he will take their criticism, but he'll also take all of their compliments and all of their praise. And every year he grows and just excels at what he does. And he wouldn't have done that without 4-H. Our daughter is a lot more not stage fright, as she likes to put it. But at 7, she was brave enough to join the talent show and perform a solo dance. And she had all of that courage and self-confidence because of all of the people in 4-H that support her and the friendly faces and give her that courage to stand up there and put herself out there. And all of the lessons that they learn from that are so important to them, but also so important to our community because they're our future. And to take that away from them is just terrible. What are we going to do? They're going to be our farmers that put the food on the table, or our bankers that are giving us our loans, or the fashion designer giving us our clothes, and all of those things. So I really urge you to please reconsider supporting us because we need the support for our kids and for our community. Thank you.
Okay, Lori, followed by Beth Lavelle.
Good evening. My name is Lori DeBoer. I'm a retired teacher, and I'm here on behalf of the Forest Timberwolves 4-H Club. Why is 4-H important to our youth? 4-H offers leadership opportunities that not only benefits them, it benefits the community. One program is the Ambassador Program. These are youth that are in grades 7 through 13. They are dedicated to learning how to lead, working together, serving the community, and growing the 4-H program. As a past 4-H'er with grandchildren that are the 4th generation 4-H'ers, I can honestly say that our young people today have opportunities that were beyond my reach when I was in 4-H. We all know that the world they're growing up in is different now. It's faster, more complex, and requires a new level of leadership and resilience. That is exactly what our 4-H programs are building in our kids. There's a saying, it takes a village, and that couldn't be more true when it comes to raising strong, capable youth. When I think of our 4-H village or family, I know it's filled with people who genuinely care about each child. They are willing to invest in them, encourage them to learn and grow. My grandkids have an Aunt Jackie. Well, she's not really their aunt, and she's not in their 4-H club. But they know that Aunt Jackie is there if they need her. I, too, am called Mom by many kids, as I have had the wonderful opportunity to be camp mom at 4-H camp. I love making these kids feel more confident and comfortable at camp so they are able to enjoy their time there. One thing I really love about our camp is it includes 4 counties. What a great way to build relationships. When we invest in programs such as 4-H, we are investing in something that will last far beyond today. We are growing our youth experiences, skills, and mentorship that they will need to be successful leaders. These leaders will be giving back to our communities. So today you have a choice. You can support the 4-H program and UW Extension and its legacy of growth and leadership, or you can choose to cut them short. I sure hope that you choose to support these programs. It will be a clear message to our youth that they are worthy, that their future is important, and that you believe and support that future. Thank you for considering this funding. Thank you for recognizing the impact these programs have on all of us. Let's work to continue to build our future, our village. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Beth will be followed by Kurt Aftal.
Hi, I'm Dr. Beth Lavelle. I live on a small farm in Oak Alley Township, and my family's in New Richmond, and my 4-H club is out of Deer Park. Megan can hand out the 3-minute version of my talk, and I'll give you the 2-minute version. Okay, so for almost 25 years, the Extension Office has been very helpful for me on my little farm and husbandry, identifying poisonous plants, what to do about them, how to divide a pasture. All their suggestions have been so helpful for an inexperienced farmer. The girls belong to North Country 4-H. Johanna's over there, she's 11, Aurora's 8, and I'll just add the little bit that I'm their club co-leader, and Megan is a dog and horse project leader as well. But in addition to all the volunteering and the learning about leadership and teamwork, Johanna usually brings about 15 projects to the fair over the last 5 years, in addition to a horse, 2 dogs, and a cat. And Aurora's following in her footsteps. They listen to the judges, they love their suggestions, they go through the buildings and look at all the projects and things that they can aspire to as they get better and better. I want to give you one example of a positive impact of one of the 4-H projects. Johanna's dog, Griffin, had lymphoma. It was given just a few weeks to months to live, and she did a science poster for Vet Science on cardiac lymphoma and Griffin's journey. A lot of people looked at it. People still come by and say, was that your poster? And tell us their story about their beloved animals' experience with cancer. And the Animal Rescue posted this on their Facebook page with pictures of Johanna and the poster, and they reported that they have 16,000 views of the page. So not only our area, but across the state. And I want to thank everybody in the support department that lets us have all our wonderful programs. The rest of that is on the handout. Thank you.
Okay, Kurt is next, followed by Dennis Mitchell.
Good evening. My name is Kurt Aftal, and my wife and I own and operate a crop consulting business in St. Croix County where we service 122 farms. Each January, the two of us sit down, we look at our customer base, and we rank all of our customers, and we look at who's going to be here in 5 years, 10 years, and 15 years. We look at who are the progressive ones that are going to continue to grow and which ones are slowly starting to decline and are going to be on their way out. Things are changing. We all know that. There's always time for change. But the next generation is moving on to other careers, and they're not sticking with us. My wife and I would love to bring our 2 children into the business, bring them into agriculture, bring them into our business, but we're afraid. We're completely afraid of where agriculture is going in the next 20 years. If we bring our kids into the business, 20 years from now, are they going to be set up to fail? Are they going to be looking at being 40 years old and there's no room for their position? Do they have to start a new career at age 40? And that's what bothers me. Lee Milligan and Greg Andrews are legends of extension. If you don't recognize those names, you really should. I understand that the 50 cow dairies are slowly going away and things are changing, things are evolving. An extension of today is not like extension of 1985. We all need to evolve, we all need to get better. But we cannot afford to lose extension at the same point. My wife graduated with a degree in social work and socializing, and she has been helping me out through taking online classes in plant and soil science. And you know who puts those classes on? UW Extension. Without Extension, she wouldn't be able to take these classes. I grew up utilizing Extension and all the services it provides. We cannot afford to lose it, but yet we need to adapt to change, and we need to all come together and continue to support UW Extension because it's bringing the next generation on and making a better place for all of us. Thank you.
Okay, Dennis will be followed by Cindy Brown.
Good evening, County Board members. My name is Dennis Mitchell. I farm with my brother and son in the town of Erin Prairie. I am the lead farmer on the Dry Run Farmer-led Watershed Council, which supports farmer education on conservation practices and improve our farm and protect our local waters like the Willow River and local lakes. We're also working to understand how we can farm in a way that protects our groundwater. Although we have farmer members who are interested to learn more, what groups like ours needs is support from staff who have time and investment in helping our group to succeed, assisting with the outreach, meeting support, technical support, and crop resources. Extension staff has been attending our meetings and supporting our work for several years, speaking to provide farmer and residential education at an intersection of conservation and farming. Staff have helped us develop our network to help reach new farmers with our incentive programs to help reimburse farmers for implementing practices to protect our watershed. Our group has been fortunate to have a coordinator provided by outside grant funding, but that position has been difficult to maintain and hard to fund with public grants and opportunities. Extension staff have been very helpful to our group to improving our capacity to serve farmers in our area. If we move away from the extension, staff is provided education to act as a local resource for farmers. It leaves a gap in services and knowledge that has been historically filled by agricultural products salesmen who have a vested interest in selling more products, more so than doing enhancing the soils and finding win-win solutions that build farm resilience and protecting our natural resources. So I'm asking you to keep funding and working with the UW Extension to keep agricultural staff serving St. Croix County. Thank you for your time.
Okay, Cindy, followed by Gina Schneider. I'm saying that right?
Good evening. My name is Cindy Brown, and I am from Roberts, Wisconsin. My family has been involved in the St. Croix County Extension Service since the 1950s. My grandmother, my father, my mother, myself, my aunts and uncles. The Ag Office with our family farm, the Extension homemakers, the Home and Education Office, and then the 4-H. I've been a 4-H leader for 27 years after being a member for 10. 3 generations of my family were members, leaders, and board members, all of them. This organization is crucial to a rural way of life, and St. Croix County still has many citizens that live on farms, hobby farms, and every child in the county can benefit from 4-H membership. As someone said a little earlier, if we had more of our youth in 4-H, it would be a lot different than them playing video games at home. So please continue to fund these programs for a better future for all of us in St. Croix County.
Okay, Gina will be followed by Jackie Cohn.
Hello, I'm Gina Schneider. I live in Forest Township. I'm a former 4-H member and a current 4-H club leader. I have 4 4-H members in my household. Lisa Mago and I started a new club 2 years ago. In year 2, we grew to 50 members. Now, starting year 3, we have more new families joining and our club is growing. 4-H is about learning and growing, and kids are able to learn so many new things that do not have experience elsewhere, that they don't experience elsewhere. The Extension Office is vital to the 4-H program as it is in the communication and execution part of programming. Without the Extension, programmings don't happen. We have lots and lots of volunteers, and we can only do so much. The Extension is vital. I just wanted you guys to understand that a lot of people think agriculture is dead, 4-H is dying, And I'm here to testify that it is not, it is growing, and it has been amazing for our group of kids. Thank you.
Okay, Jackie, followed by Chris Libby.
Christine, were you able to pass out the, okay. So I want to just cover the online petition. So you should all have the packet. I just want to go over a couple of color coding on the detailed packet itself. Those in green were marked by those that either could not find were a resident within St. Croix County through the tax roll or through a background check program called Forewarn. So we realize that not everybody may be, all voters may not be a property owner, but that may be a tenant or combined households. Those that are marked in the blue color were ones that we kicked out that we felt were not associated with St. Croix County. Although we appreciate their support, we don't consider their vote to be relevant towards the petition at this time. So the other chart, the pie chart that you have, the 75% in that yellow represents all of the votes that were considered in St. Croix County. So of the 739 or whatever votes that we got online, plus the 3 or 4 pages that I have from that were the handwritten ones, those handwritten ones were not included in this data. We had 15% that we tossed out, and then the 10%, which what we are counting and considering as the border communities. So just as we're driving down the town road, we get to the county line and it's like, oh, the road doesn't fall over, right? The road keeps going. We just move into the next township or the next county. So I just want to go over all of that. They are sorted on your list in accordance, I believe, could be in town order so that they're sorted so it'd be easy to find in the wards in which you have. Okay, I'm going to talk really fast. I'm speaking on behalf of another Star Prairie member, and he was going to be here to talk about the importance of funding for extension services, to share a little bit about how vital it is for him and his family. They just yesterday, the 5th, imposed a new rule for the RFID tags that went into effect, and congratulations to Ryan Starry for answering his phone and helping these people out understand what the law changes were that went into effect yesterday. If we didn't have Ryan or someone at Extension to keep up to date as to what's happening with DADCAP, this farmer would not have their questions answered in a timely fashion and could have broken some other rules, and was very imperative to their farm run program. Thank you. That was the shortest time.
Jackie, thank you for your work in that petition, though. We do appreciate it. Chris, and followed by Jill Berkey.
Chris Libby, 1468 85th Street in Richmond. First, just a couple additional comments on the value of the 4-H program. Much of what I had has already been stated, but the New Richmond Area Community Foundation has chosen community mental health as their pressing priority going forward into next year. The 2023 Youth Risk Survey for St. Croix County found nearly half of our youth report regular anxiety and self-report that they rarely or never get the help that they need. Now, based on my experience as a 4-H general leader and the Tufts University research 4-H study 4-H is truly a program that supports and develops youth positivity. Youth positivity is a key component of mental health. So moving on to Ag Extension. The rest of my 4-H comments you've already heard multiple times. Ag Extension. First of all, Ag is big business in St. Croix County. As of the 2022 Ag Census, there were 1,192 farms, farming 255,000 acres, with small farms, and that's defined as less than 179 acres, representing 72% of the total. And large farms, those farming more than 500 acres, 10%. In 2022, these farms generated $256 million in income and netted $66 million in profits. That's big money in this county. The impact of ag extension, some of this you've already heard, so I'll be brief on this as well. You've already heard from Carrie Weiss previously about the various education programs that Extension participates in. You've also heard several people speak about utilizing phone and or email contact with their Extension agents for information to help them operate their farm. So the hours of phone calls and answering emails is not counted in the information that was previously provided by Carrie. So that's additional information, and those calls add up to a lot of time. Specifically, as an example, Diana Alpha, she was the former horticultural educator, routinely received 5 to 15 calls a day during the growing season. I am a small farmer who regularly consulted with Lee Milligan and subsequently with Ryan Sterry. They provide me with great assistance in fertility management, selection and operation of equipment, and marketing. My final thought, to support the significant level of small-scale farming in St. Croix County, I strongly endorse funding Extension concurrent with a joint effort to refocus assets and priorities to better meet today's needs. Finally, Extension has been a very valuable resource for me. Thank you.
Okay, Jill is up, followed by Linda Vivoda Sadi, if I got that right.
Okay. Hello, and thank you for the opportunity, and it's good to see all of you. I'm Jill Berkey. I live in the town of Troy. I have a blueberry U-pick and fiber sheep. I am a former 4-H kid, and am reminded about every day of a motto that were taught, my several 7 siblings, to make the best better, and that's partly why I'm here today. I'm a master preserver, which was a program with the University Extension, also a master gardener. I remember the days when we had a commercial hort agent in Baldwin, and certainly that was a resource for my husband and I with respect to our blueberry farm. I wanted to highlight a few of the 6 program areas that University Extension serves. To remind you of the mission of University Extension, the Wisconsin idea stipulates that education should influence people's lives beyond the boundaries of the classroom. Extension brings the research of the university to the people of Wisconsin in the form of educational opportunities where people live and work. I won't highlight 4-H because we have had some wonderful remarks and probably will have more about that very valued program. My heart swells when I hear the leaders and the youngsters speak. So, some comments that were made in one of the annual reports that I received from Dr. Weiss, I wanted to highlight. For instance, Selena Freimark with the health and well-being. She's the educator with health and well-being. The University of Wisconsin Extension Office has benefited the Health and Human Services Department in many ways. And this is from Bob Roward, our St. Croix HHS director. Selena and Dr. Carrie Weiss led our department through a strategic planning effort. The whole process was professionally facilitated, thorough, and at no cost to our department. UW Extension has also assisted our public health division with prior strategic planning and a Strengths Finder workshop. And there's more in terms of that association and partnership, if you will. And then secondly, our crops and soil educator. Here's a comment from another St. Croix resident, Dan Donahue, whom I'm sure many of you know. I'm writing on behalf of the Farmer-Led Watershed Council for the dry run. Becky Brathall has been involved the last half dozen years with the council. She's a very knowledgeable and passionate about the watershed work that's being done. Now more than ever, our water needs protection. Neurotics chemicals used to treat soybean and corn seeds are showing up in our streams and adversely affecting the microorganisms which make buffer strips even more important. Her ability to approach farmers and convince them of best practices is vital to the watershed. Please continue that funding. And then thirdly,
if you could wrap it up, Jill, please.
I'll shorten it up.
Thank you.
My final comment would be to understand the breadth of university extension and to recognize, as noted earlier, that this has been in our county and in our country and state for more than, in Wisconsin for more than 100 years. Thank you for your consideration of restoring the funding of $185,000 to the community development budget. Thank you to Supervisor Dan Hansen and our Administrator Ken Witt, and I appreciate again all the work of the rest of you.
Okay, Linda Vivoda Sadi. Linda. Is Linda still here? Okay, thank you, Linda. Followed by Matthew Logering.
I'm Linda Vivoda today. I am at 583 Wingate Drive in St. Croix County. I'm here to talk about mental health. I am a community mental health advocate. It's purely my vision and my mission as a volunteer on different committees. And when I talk about mental health, it seems like we maybe need a reminder of what that is. Mental wellness includes our emotional, psychological, and social health. It affects how we think, feel, and act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make healthy choices. A number of the things that will be cut are QPR, suicide prevention training, mental health first aid, the Recovery Cafe, which helps people who have substance use disorder, Practice the Pause, something that I am part of, We Cope. The thing is, no matter how much money we make, what color skin we have, or where we live, mental health is important to all of us. It does not have any boundaries. I can say that for myself, as I am a daughter of a father who was in the Netherlands when they were invaded in World War II, and a mother who was born into World War II in Germany. So the intergenerational trauma is real. Along with that, we're seeing that parental stress is a significant public health issue that was issued by Vivek Murthy, the Surgeon General. And I'll just finish by saying that this is really, really important. And it's listed in St. Croix County on your action item, mental health is listed there. So this seems to me to go very much opposite of what you need to do. So I would really appreciate that you would restore this funding. Thank you for listening.
Okay, Matthew. And Matthew will be followed by William Thompson.
All right, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate all your time. I know it's been a long night, and I thank you for your service to our great county. I'm Matthew Logring. I'm a husband, father of 3, 8-year-old son, 6-year-old daughter, and a 3-year-old daughter. I just ask you tonight to put yourself in my shoes. I grew up in 4-H, and that's what I'm here to talk about tonight, and that made me a lot of who I am today. That journey started 35 years ago, and it's had a profound impact on my life and who I am now as a father and husband. But fast forward to just 2 years ago, my wife and I made a difficult decision to move to St. Croix County. We intentionally sought out this county for many reasons, but without a doubt, the most important because you support strong, healthy families. And it's a fantastic place to raise children. And that's why we're here. Within a week of getting an accepted offer on our house, 2 months before we moved in, I was on the phone looking for a 4-H club to join. That was the number one thing that I did, the first call I made after that offer in this community. Thankfully, we got connected with a fantastic club. A wonderful leader, Jackie, has taken us in, and I can tell you of all the sports and dance and other activities that you kids can get involved in, 4-H is by far, without question, the most impactful, supportive thing for our kids. And it will continue to be that way no matter what. But we need your help. We want you to support us. We want to build courageous, curious, amazing kids, and we need you. We need the support. So please know that when I see my kids at a 4-H meeting, when I see them at the county fair, when I see them talking to Jackie Coombe, and she is so interested in what he is doing and building with this little machine that makes absolutely no sense, but his mind is turning, it really brings me to tears. And every volunteer I talk to is the same way. They love these kids, and they pour their hearts and minds into these kids. But every one of them I talk to tells me, they said, yes, the extension is so important. They coordinate things. They keep the schedules. They give us resources. And I trust them. I know that these resources are important to them. So please continue to support these volunteers. We all have challenges, and I'll just leave you with one story that really hit me hard. A week ago, my wife and I were driving our 3 kids home from school. And they were talking in the back of the van like they always do. My 6-year-old daughter was talking about how she met a new friend, and she was so excited. She said, I'm gonna get together with her. We're gonna have a play date, and it's gonna just be great. And I could hear my 8-year-old son, he was, asking, oh, really, what do you think you're gonna do at her house, or are you gonna have it at our house? And she said, it doesn't matter where it's at. She goes, I don't even care what we do. And he goes, what are you gonna do? And she goes, I don't know, maybe we'll bake something or dance or dress up. And he said, and I'm just listening to my wife, and he goes, Addie, you enjoy that time because it's not gonna be long, and all they're gonna wanna do is play games. All your friends are gonna be playing video games. And that hit home to me because that is my son's situation. He does not relate to many children because the media and screens and YouTube, we've heard it time and time again, but it's real. That's what has taken the minds and souls of our children. So please, I beg you, 4-H is so important now more than ever. Please help us build courageous, thoughtful, healthy children that'll become leaders and can fill your seats someday and do the courageous work that you're all doing for this county. So thank you for your time.
Okay, William Thompson.
William had to leave, so I'm going to fill in for him. I'll start with myself. My name is Krista Johnson. I'm a 3rd generation 4-H club leader for Dry Run Go-Getters 4-H Club. My husband and I grew up in 4-H, we met in 4-H, and now our 5 children grow and strive in all their opportunities through 4-H. Others have touched on a lot of the local projects, but not only do we have local projects, but the high school children have opportunities that Extension and 4-H help coordinate, experiences for educational trips. These include a trip to Madison, Washington, D.C., and a spirit trip where they travel and learn and experience other opportunities and states. Younger kids have opportunities to attend 4-H camp with 4 other local counties as well. These trips are highlights to these kids' summers, where they create lifelong friends, connections, and opportunities. Now I have a few testimonies from 4-H members from my club. William said, I have used the extension program as the father of 4 kids in 4-H. Moving from out of state 3 years ago, their involvement in various club activities, the summer softball league, dairy and pig projects has helped them feel part of their new community and provide fun ways to get involved. Another family from our club, also recently moved to Baldwin, shared that 4-H provided creative enrichment opportunities for their homeschool curriculum. Please consider continuing funding extension so these youth can utilize these invaluable opportunities. Thank you.
So that's the end of the comment cards that we received. Is there anyone else that would like to make public comment to the board during the public hearing this evening? Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Okay, given none, we will close the public hearing and we will take a quick 10-minute break. So we'll come back and address our business items. All right, we're going to continue with the agenda and our business items. And the first business item is a resolution adopting the 2025 budget and establishing the tax levy. Do we have a motion for that resolution?
I'll move that resolution. I'll move the resolution.
Okay, motion to approve the resolution with that? Am I? Yes. Okay, just by Supervisor Fiedler, second by Supervisor Burning. I caught him with his mouthful. Okay, I'd like to ask County Administrator to give us some brief comments to begin. On the budget or on no, well, yes, on that portion of the, just to clarify.
Yeah, Chair Long had asked me just to clarify what's going on with 4-H that's within this budget document. So previously, we had fully funded UW Extension, roughly $250,000. We'd cut that down to, I think it's about $65,000, which funds the 4-H educator. It funds his summer intern to help support the program. And then we would provide county staff support for administrative support to that 4-H educator. So that's similar to the way it was done up until about 5 years ago when we had added a full-time UW Extension administrative assistant position. So we fully intend to maintain the 4-H the way it has been run, just with a different model of supporting it. So that's what's in the budget currently.
Thank you. So the motion on the floor is to approve the budget and the tax levy. Discussion. Supervisor Hanson.
I'd like to make an amendment. I would move to amend the budget, and I had this amendment in the packet, and I would read it. I move to amend the proposed 2025 budget to allocate an additional $185,000 to UW Extension and reduce the fund balance applied to the debt service fund by that $185,000. The healthcare campus is contributing $500,000 to the debt service fund. This motion will move $185,000 to the general fund to cover increased expenses for UW Extension. With the reduction of the fund balance applied in the debt service fund, the tax levy will increase for the debt service. Net effect on the tax levy rate will be an increase from 2.688 to 2.699. Average homeowner will see an increase of 3.48 with this amendment. Specific budget changes, line 11056204110, property tax increase from 68,312 to 253,312. Should I read every line? Don't think I need to. Okay, so that's the amendment.
So there's a motion on the floor to amend the 2025 budget. Is there a second?
I second it.
Supervisor Leaf. Discussion. Supervisor Burning.
So originally, this $500,000 was supposed to offset the increase to the debt service that had come from the way that the bond was issued back in 2014 or 15 to build the nursing home, was front-loaded with mostly interest. And so this year, or this coming budget cycle, the debt service goes from about $1 million to about $1.5 million to cover the payment for the nursing home. We're using, this was originally intended, moving it out of that enterprise fund to help offset only a small portion of which the nursing home is costing the taxpayers outside of what they're making in the operating revenues. So my suggestion would be that we leave this alone and we go back and we have a discussion as a board to figure out what other areas in the operating budget we would want to cut in order to fund this $185,000. If we make this resolution happen, which is creative, I'll applaud, the supervisor that brought it forward, we will create an operating deficit moving forward. And we don't have the growth that we are looking at coming up in the future years. Net new construction is going down slightly. We saw that recently. The number of real estate transactions that are actually happening in this county is down, not necessarily new homes, but refinance, et cetera. While the valuation of our homes are going up and the mill rate is going down, we're at levy limits. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Administrator. So just creating a $5 on a $500,000 home can't happen because we cannot create that $5. If that's correct, right? We can't do that off the operating side.
Correct, you can't increase the operating levy.
Right, so this would be moving one-time monies over to cover the extension. So my suggestion is that we set this aside as a last-ditch effort, and we put our thinking caps on and we roll our sleeves up, and we find out where else in the budget we want to cut in order to make this happen, if that's what this board wants to have happen. That's my suggestion.
Other comments? Supervisor Van Summer.
I would concur with Mr. Burning. I think we ought to leave also alone what we've planned on as far as keeping our budget in line, what Ken has worked on to keep that deficit short. I also think we have to address something different here, and that's what I've addressed all along with this whole situation, and that's accountability. I've learned more tonight from these great people who came here and told me what Extension did than Extension has told me what they did in the 3 years I've served on the CDC committee. That's not right. It should not be that way. We have to be responsible. All of us here, the 19 of us, 18 because one is missing, are put here because we have to be accountable. We have to be accountable for every dime and penny and nickel that comes our way. We can spend our own money, throw it away, waste it, because we only hurt ourselves. But we are put here, we are elected to be transparent and to be accountable. We are dealing with, and that means in order for us to be accountable, we have to deal with people who are accountable. And we're not dealing with people who are accountable. This $185,000, well, I understand how important 4-H is. There were, if I kept correct tally, there were 17 people who spoke to 4-H tonight. So the rest of those 25 spoke to farming. That's not a very big percent of farming. We also have to keep in mind that there are just about 100,000 people in St. Croix County. Is that right, Ken? Just a few short. 25 people spoke tonight, and I've gotten probably 50 phone calls. And of those phone calls, and not so much emails, phone calls that I received, and my phone, by the way, my personal phone is on the public domain here, and maybe that's a mistake because I got a lot of phone calls today. Out of my 8-hour stint at my work today, I worked a half hour and I answered phone calls the rest of the time. And of those 50 or 60, I had just as many who said you're doing the right thing. If the people you're dealing with are not accountable, don't deal with them. There are other ways, and there are other ways. Ken has told us about some other ways that are being made possible for the 4-H. I just think that accountability is so important. Each of us has to be accountable, and we can't truly do our jobs the way we're doing it. Now, let me give you a scenario how that works. How many of you have a credit card? Yeah, everybody does, right? How about if your Visa card, your MasterCard came to you and said, okay, we're going to change the way you pay us. You send us, depending on how much you spend, you send us $2,000 a month. We'll take that out of your bank account, so you don't have to worry about ever being late on paying again, okay? Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? So you do that. Sure enough, there's your bank account, says $2,000 taken out. You think, well, soon, from my credit card company, I will get the list that tells me how I spent my money, so I can enter that into my spreadsheet on my budgeting. But the list doesn't come. And you think, well, maybe it's a mistake. Another month, $2,000, another month, $2,000. And so you call the credit card company and say, hey, I'm not receiving a receipt for all of my money. You know, I use a credit card, my wife uses a credit card, my kids use a credit card. Isn't there? And the credit card company doesn't give you an answer. They just say, okay, next month, no accountability, no list. That's the scenario we're dealing with here. Before we spend $185,000, we have to sort this thing out, or we are not being very accountable to the 10,000 people who put us here. Thank you.
Supervisor Carlson?
If they haven't been accountable from our view, I don't know if we've been asking, because I never even really heard about it before tonight after being on for 2 years. But where they have been accountable is I've gotten one phone call after another of people said they've gotten great service and it really helped their business, because it's big business in St. Croix County, our farms. And it's a big business, and they really rely on UW helping them. I was on the Economic Development Council for 2 years and to help businesses, and never once was a rural issue ever brought up. They never once supported an egg business. So they're not getting help from them. It seems like our small businesses are only getting help from UW, our little ones, and it's a great service for them. We spend a lot of money on the university system, which is, quasi-governmental, and it seems, it just seems smart to have somebody that's an extension from them to our local businesses to help them out. And if it helps out 4-H, that's also helpful, because these young 4-H people are going to be our future business leaders in agriculture. And another thing, where I live out in the country there, I love it because it's rural. I've been out there 20 years. Otherwise, I was in the Navy and a city kid. All my neighbors say all the time, the reason why they like being out there is it's agricultural. So if we want to keep that culture that my neighbors seem to want to keep anyways, supporting things like 4-H and especially the county extension for our businesses seems like just a smart investment in our future.
Supervisor Teldejohn. Excuse me.
I count 12 people who commented on farming and ag extension, and not just 4-H, in my list of 25. So that's about 50%. We haven't been accountable. I mean, that's probably true, but if we can't cut the funding if we don't know what we're cutting the funding for. I think we should extend this one more year and find out what we're really using or what we're not using, or if we need more service. We don't even know that. I'm all for fully funding the university extension for one more year.
Supervisor Leaf.
Couple of logistical questions. So we have an amendment on the floor, and it seems that's something that we can't do, correct?
No, I typed it up. It's doable.
Okay. Well, it made it sound like, well, we can't make that $5. So I was like trying to understand what the heck was going on, to be clear. Secondly, if we are to come back and put our thinking caps on, as Supervisor Burning recommends, what is the timeline for getting this budget approved and getting all of that done? Because the municipalities in this county are depending on us passing the budget in order for them to do theirs. So what would be the plan for rolling up our sleeves and sharpening our pencils then?
Well, you're approving the budget tonight, one fashion or another, because it's due to the state, I think, by November 15th, so. Yeah.
Supervisor Otino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A question for Administrator Witt. Is there a way of funding the 4-H? We talked about this at the Committee of the Whole. I don't want to support this $185,000 whatsoever. I think you guys know my opinion on spending that kind of money. But can we find a way to help 4-H? Because that's the most important piece of this entire system, in my opinion, of of our expenditure. Is there a way to do that? And I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, we still have $68,000 in the budget to UW Extension that's supporting 4-H. So we're supporting 4-H to the tune of $68,000. The $185,000 is a reduction from what they've received in the past, which is the other UW Extension programs that they have, which is the horticulturist, the educator, the...
Thank you for the clarification then. Again, I'm going to say I am not in support of the amendment for the $185,000 or the resolution, but I will support the budget going forward to keep the 4-H running. Thank you.
Supervisor Rice.
I'd like to address the topic of accountability. I'm new to this group, and I'm new to the Community Development Committee. I don't recall that we've been real crystal clear on exactly what we're looking for. We've been a little bit fishing for what we're looking for. Dr. Weiss is assuming she knows what we want. She gives us a report. That's happened now just once. So I don't like this language. It makes it sound as though there's some incompetence there, and I have not witnessed that. I also feel strongly that we need to support our ag community. These people, this is a busy time of year. They've taken time out of their lives to come and tell us what they think. So I think that's really important. And I guess the last point I'd like to make is stylistically. I've had now 2 conversations with Dr. Weiss. I have found her to be personally very responsive. She also has a real demure quality about her. And when I found out she has a background in the military service, that she was called up on 9/11, all of it kind of clicked for me because I could see her deferential approach to me as a supervisor, to the rest of us here. So what I'd like to see us do is come with a solution where we can continue to fund fully extension for a year and then be more clear on our end through the CDC on what exactly we're looking for. It's already been acknowledged tonight that there needs to be more collaboration, and that's what Dr. Weiss shared with me as well, that she's not only open to that, but would welcome it. So I'd like to see us find a way to move forward for at least another year.
Supervisor Anderson.
Yeah, we asked for data. I don't remember the exact month. It was somewhere between April and June, and for months we didn't really get any response from Extension. It wasn't. We specifically asked for things like attendance numbers, even not names, just like how many people were at certain events and stuff. And I have not seen any information like that. And as far as I do agree with sounds like I'm guess everyone who's spoken so far, we still want to support 4-H, but that's still budgeted for. And departments that the county funds directly and is accountable to this county directly have committed time to help 4-H when needed. I think that we've given plenty of time to give us more information than we've gotten. We've just gotten like headers on these other types of things we lead, but no like numbers on how many people attends or how many are done a year. And I think I don't want to create a structural deficit here. We've been asking for information for a while and haven't really gotten answers.
Supervisor Shirley.
Since our committee of the whole meeting, I've asked some questions about how the 4-H funding works, how we got to that point, and what not from there. And what I found out was that since the beginning of our budgeting season, which is April, we knew that the reduction from Extension was going to be there, but Extension never told 4-H until the end of July. So they were kind of blindsided with not knowing what the reduction was, and I see that as a problem, and that's fully on Extension for not expressing why and how funding was going to happen from now on. So then I was told that 4-H could get by at $100,000. Well, we're already funding at 68. To go to 100 isn't that much more. It's not $185,000 more. So the difference to me would be that would be the other educators, which through community development has a lot of overlap with a lot of our staff that we have here. So I agree with the other people on community development that we've asked a lot of questions. We've not gotten any answers. And I have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with 4-H, and I think that they're kind of been blindsided in this whole debacle. And I think that, you know, if we were going to try to find something, I would find more funding for them, not necessarily the full $185,000.
Supervisor Hanson.
So I got a couple of thoughts. One, the strategic planning session that was done for Health and Human Services, if that hadn't been done by our extension, it would have cost probably a consultant fee of upwards of what, 10, maybe $20,000. So $20,000, and there's other things that extension does for St. Croix County government. It happens in Health and Human Services. Sometimes it happens in the jail. It happens subtly. It happens without a lot of fanfare, and often it happens without thanks. What I'm hearing is probably the result of years of a good relationship, and then the transition through COVID, and a lot of things get blamed on COVID, but here I was actually in the leadership position and witnessed it. When Kristen Bruder was the area director, I was the chairman of the committee, Community Development Committee. Kristen had been a seasoned area director, and I asked her just to write a newsletter because the committee, honestly, is an umbrella committee and has long meetings. And Kristen Bruder was a seasoned and very experienced UW Extension area director, and I said, you know, the committee very often is exhausted with the work that they're doing. By the time we get to Extension, they're glazing over. Why don't you just write me a newsletter? And she did. So really, Extension was conditioned to not be communicating, and that became institutional. And they kind of forgot how to reach out to the committee. Is that my fault? Maybe. They changed area directors. They got a green area director, and I'm not saying that Dr. Weiss is in any way green. I wouldn't want to mess with her, military police person that she is. Probably arrest me. But there needs to be some relationship building. The fact that they didn't give the committee what they asked for immediately maybe is an indication that the committee and the area director need to work on how they communicate with each other. I think what I'm hearing sounds like it's could use a little strategic planning. I don't know, and I'm not trying to be funny, but fund this thing for another year. Have some goals, have some measurable expectations, and give it another chance, because we've got since 1914 when the land grant came into being, and there were extension agents sent to St. Croix County. It's a long, long history to just flush away for a personal vendetta because they didn't give us the information we asked for. So please vote for this thing. Thank you very much.
Supervisor Van Summeren.
Thank you. Just for a point of order, because there seems to be, by some of the newer members of this man, we asked 3 years ago for accountability as to what the programs were, the number of participants, where they were held, those kinds of things. The next year we were met again, and we asked for the same thing. The next year we were met again, asked for the same thing. Never received it, never any communication. And so that's where I'm coming from. How can we be accountable if they aren't accountable? As others have said, we should do this for another year. In my mind, and I think in the mind of the CEC committee, we have given them 3 years already with no change. I mean, we hear nothing from them except, please send me my check. And if they do other things, I have a listing here from another person, from Jason Halzer, that is a sort of a accounting for what they do. But you know, none of the things that have been mentioned here are on that list. Nothing. They do things like, according to this, they have conferences. They have goals on pre-conference workshop. They have a relationship with nonprofit peers. By the way, that costs $840 per person. They have some online programs. Of course, it's hard to, you can figure out how many people attend. You can figure out how many people attend from St. Croix County if you want. That's not difficult. A person who spoke tonight had asked them to help him with a corn issue. That only cost us $1,008. But that didn't happen in 2024 like this list says it was 2024. It happened in 2023. So when we get a report, we aren't getting an accurate report. There are programs here. 30 participants for pesticide applicator trainings cost $693 per person. I'm told by several farmers who I contacted that now you get your license for spraying online. You don't need to go anyplace. You sit in comfort of your home. There's a nutrition education series for SNAP eligible populations. There were 168 participants. The price of that program, hold on, $402,192, which turns out to be $2,394 per person. That's almost a quarter at a college, state college, or at least a community college. Some other things that are on here that really make no sense. In one case where it talks about waterways, there's training for a drag line. Now, I don't know if you know what a drag line is. It's a great big crane that comes up and it's got a drag line bucket that's for cleaning out rivers and things like that. I know of one in St. Croix County. It hasn't moved for 20 years. But it says they're going to give training. Drag line training safety. They have done that. When I look through this, I see programs that the people I talk to are not participating in, and some of them have no reason in our county, none whatsoever. Another one, winter wheat. How much the nutrition winter wheat is good. So I checked with, I think I've told you this before, I checked with the farmers around, I checked with the seed dealers in St. Croix County. They used to sell some winter wheat for cover crop. Now everyone's gone to rye because winter wheat really didn't do what they wanted it to do. So as far as I can tell, there were 40 acres of winter wheat raised in St. Croix County last year. 30 acres are on a dairy farm, a large dairy farm. They're part of a nutrition program for young stock because there's some issue in the young stock in their digestive system. This may help, so it may be a one-year thing. And I know a person who raises 10 acres of winter wheat a year, which he gives, I thought he sold it, but he gives to the 45th parallel in the Richmond, and in turn he gets a bottle of whiskey. So we don't need training really on something that there's no market for, but that's on the list. We give training for something, but there's no market for it. Again, the money is one thing, the accountability for me is worse. We ask, we get nothing, we ask, we get nothing. It's time to change it. If we give them another year, we will ask again 1 year from tonight, and we will have received nothing. Thank you.
Supervisor Ramberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Supervisor Rice to look for an interim measure for this year to do what we've been hearing. Using our leverage, because we don't pay for everything, a joint effort to reallocate assets and the resources that are out there that we have such questions about. Fix our partnership problems, and in the spirit of the holistic approach, today is the last day. Right now, we're behind the 8 ball to get a budget together, and we need an interim process. I feel what we have in front of us is an interim process on the amendment, an interim measure, and if need be, if we cuss and discuss the budget itself going in the future months, we can do a budget amendment. This body has the ability to do that if we find something that we're looking for. Thank you.
Supervisor Carlson.
Thank you. I hear this list of things that he got from the head of the extension, and this wasn't done, that wasn't done. I can't say, I don't know. But what I do know is the amount of feedback I got from people that said they had this done for them, and I had this done for me and it helped me in my business. I had this done for me and I might have failed. That list was big enough that another $185,000 seems like a drop in the budget into how much revenue it produced overall and how it saved our businesses. So I don't want to see the money go away this year because of the list we heard that sounds questionable. Let's figure out this year, work with communications and make sure that we're spending our money well. But my sense is from talking to everybody that the money we've spent has been money well spent, and I don't want to see it go away for them.
Supervisor Lee.
I agree with coming up with this short-term solution. And while you might have asked for this information 3 years ago, none of us knew that. So we don't know that you've been looking for it. So how are we were blindsided by this as well. So I feel like communication has to work among all of us too. If you're not getting something and it's looking like it's going to be on the chopping block, then the rest of us should know about it too. So I feel like let's have this interim solution, give some goals, do a needs assessment if we need to, pick out some people from this body that would be willing, or throw it back to community development, however you want to do it, figure out the goals and the measurement, and we get reports quarterly, like we do with CASA, right? We funded CASA similarly. We asked for reports, we're getting them. So let's do that. And then that would give you the accountability, which I agree we need. And I also think there's a lot more that we could be doing with extension if we just think about it. It's a resource that's there, and I think in large part, it's just sort of been this, through inertia, it's been funded, and we haven't really taken a good look at it. So I agree, accountability, but I also think we need to have the short-term fix, but as I said, have it be real regimented in terms of goals and expectations, reports, and if it's not done, then we have our answer, right?
Supervisor Lynn.
Thank you, Chair. First off, I want to thank every single one of you for showing up. Good job. As a county fair member, I have seen the family work for the 4-H, for the fair, and all of their cohesiveness and their, I got this, I got your back, and they work together very well. I see the funding for the 4-H, and I know that they ask, I'm fiscally one of the tightest people here, I think. Well, maybe Bernie, but whatever. Oh, Rick, sorry. Oh, Tino, sorry. That being said, I do believe, I have heard that after our fair, the Monday after, they lost their extension person without any warning. And they were left with their pants around their ankles going, what? She's gone? And she didn't communicate that she was going to be leaving. So they were left in the lurch. That's the rest of the story. That is unfortunate. It is not their fault. I think that we need to bridge the gap for a year. And the accountability word that we're hearing, absolutely. we all know about accountability. If we don't see that in a year, then we can talk about getting rid of it. I think it's a good thing to go forward with at this point, to just fund it. KIP, I don't know. Maybe not the debt service fund. I hear the KIP is flush.
Supervisor Burning.
Okay, I am not against a temporary solution. Here's what I am for, is a temporary solution. What I will not support is having it taken out of this solution that we've already put in place to help offset the debt service. That was put in place a couple months ago in our committee of the whole. So I don't like this particular solution, but there is something that we need to keep in mind, and all 19 of us, including our friend who's not with us today, we have to remember that $185,000, if we fund this temporarily, is about 1.5 to 1.75 FTEs for next year's budget. That is not accounted for in the year-over-year growth. We went into this budget cycle saying no more FTEs, except for that which was approved by the voters in a referendum to add additional law enforcement and health and human services support agents for law enforcement to combat the mental health issues that we are facing and the increase in crime in the last few years in St. Croix County. So we have 1.5 to 1.75 FTEs that will not be accounted for going into next year, that Administrator Witt has already said, no new FTEs. And the operating budget is not going to increase to accommodate that necessarily. It may not. So we may be staring down the barrel of cutting these $185,000 in positions anyway next year, depending on sales tax, net new construction, and where we're pressed up against levy limits and where other needs in the county are needed. So I'm 100% for an extension on this. Let's get good data. Let's put parameters in place. But everyone needs to remember, the chickens are gonna, no pun intended to the ag community, the chickens are gonna come home to roost next year. And those of you that are putting this forward need to have a solution of where you want to cut next year or what you don't want to fund to keep these FTEs in place that we're funding at extension. But I will not support this. I think we should take it from either undesignated fund balance for 1 year, or if ARPA money can apply to this, it cannot. I was just kidding. I was just making sure you knew that, Ken. So whatever it is that we need to do, but we should not take it from this, because this was in place to make it so that there is no tax increase to the residents of St. Croix County on the debt service that we're levying. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mr.
Supervisor Fiedler.
Just on a happy note, I just want to mention that a couple weeks ago I was able to attend the annual 4-H banquet over at the packed American Legion Hall in New Richmond, and it was an amazing experience for me. There were so many young people there, ranging, I don't know, from 6 years old to 17 years old, who had got these amazing awards. And usually when the person read off what the award was, it was for 8, 10, 13, 14, 15 things they'd accomplished, either during their lifetime in 4-H or in some cases just the last year of membership. And the leaders were spectacular. I didn't know any of them, to be honest. And I was saying, wow, we have some great people in St. Croix County in 4-H. And it was an eye-opener for me. It was like walking into a Norman Rockwell painting. So I just wanted to say thank you for all the things the 4-H people do. Thank you.
Supervisor Counter.
Excuse me. I got two questions to bring forward and then some comments, if I could. The first question, they talked, I believe I understood something that when we fund the UW extension programs, is there a state matching in funds that they also receive for question one?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We only pay it's probably less than half the cost of the educators. We have a fixed cost on them, and the state picks up the balance of that cost.
So if we don't fund them, then they're at a loss for the entire.
Yeah, the position goes away because the state's not going to fund the full amount. It's a partnership between the state or the county and UW Extension, the state.
Okay, thank you. The second question I have for you, and I don't know if you can answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. How many of the county departments use or have connections with use of UW Extension? That's kind of a loaded question, but I know we heard earlier that Health and Human Services has, so we're talking about a bunch of different departments. I'm just wondering if you had any idea the uses.
Yeah, I've discussed it with the department heads. It's not very much. I mean, other than HHS using them, they have not had a lot of recent interaction with UW Extension. And that goes back to how Extension has changed really over the last 5 years. So, I mean, just to elaborate on that a little bit, I mean, maybe a little bit that is on us, that we haven't forced it, that we haven't, you know, sat down at community development and said, these are the educators we want, and this is what we want them doing for us.
Thank you. Can I bring my comments in? Okay, thank you. So I am an advocate for the programs. I see University Extension, not just in the eyes for the 4-H, but also the other potential programs that they have out there for us. Whether I'm disappointed with the issues that we're discussing tonight with their bringing forward listings and current and all of the information that everybody's been talking about, but I see it differently and respect that. I see that University Extension almost is like a insurance. We have liability and casualty. When we have issues that come forward, University Extension is an unbiased advocate for us. They're there so that when we do have issues that come up, that we have them at our disposal, that we can come to them and ask them the questions, and they can bring us to they have the entire state and the staff, and they understand who the best people are to give us the information. And again, this information comes, again, it's unbiased. It's not from the insurance company. It's not from somebody selling something. This is the university system that's providing us with this service. So for me, I look at this also, I mean, I pay a great amount of money for liability and casualty insurance for my businesses and the things I do. And I look at the amount that the county's putting out versus how much use that we get and how many people it impacts, and that they're there for us. They have that out there, that we have those connections. And I think the loss of that would be a big detriment to us for the future. I think we need to consider that. I also look at, you know, as far as you know, as time goes, again, there may be issues that come to fruition that we need to deal with, so that we just discussed. But things that were brought up tonight that I was unaware of is mental health through Health and Human Services. We've all heard plenty on the farming side, but we also know that the university system has a great deal of knowledge and expertise to help for businesses that are in our communities, that they can be called for and have connections made, and business opportunity support. We also have to, you know, I know we've been talking about the farming issue, but we're still over half of St. Croix County is farmland. There's a lot here, and we need to support those people. I mean, you look at the dollar value, we may not have 50,000 people here tonight, half the population, But I'll guarantee there's probably a pretty high percentage, if you take into account all the people that use these services, of the dollar value of the properties and how much that they're participating in to make it so that this county operates. So I'll leave it at that for now. Thank you.
Supervisor, Thank you, sir. My question is for Administrator Witt. We have one resolution, a solution on how to pay for it. Pragmatically, do we have time during this meeting to figure out another way?
Yeah, the Supervisor Burning hit on it. Really, the other way is fund balance. I mean, if you don't want to reduce the contribution to the debt service fund, you can take it out of fund balance, but that creates a structural deficit going into the next year, which is what he was warning you about. So both of them have their pros and cons. The solution before you is an ongoing funding solution, and it's increasing the tax levy through increasing the debt service debt levy. Taking it out of fund balance creates a structural deficit, and you will be back here next year figuring out a solution then.
So as a follow-up, if we decide to fund this tonight, which one are you more comfortable with? Which would you recommend?
The one that I typed up would be my recommendation, because it's not a one-time solution. This does provide a permanent fix so that I don't have to fix it again next year.
Supervisor Shirley.
I would support trying to figure this out for one more year. I'm not crazy about it. I think that we have a lot of issues to figure out, but I think that we need, as a community development committee, to go back to extension and say, this is what we need, this is what we want, this is how we want to look, so that we don't have that overlap in our department versus what extension is offering, because we have a great community development department that offers our citizens great services. Not a lot of them know that necessarily, and maybe that's the issue, but we don't need to overlap it with more educators from an outside source at the same time. So I think we really need to dive into this and say, what do we want this really to look like as we move forward? But I'm in support of doing something in the meantime so that we can try to get this budget passed and we can move on.
Supervisor Burning.
So I want to go back to what Administrator Witt said. If we take it out of fund balance, we will create a structural deficit. Without a doubt, that's true. We have this revenue source, and this can be a potential long-term revenue source. Here's the issue that we have with making it this particular resolution. I keep pointing at the screen because I can see the resolution at the screen. The problem that we have with this particular resolution is that we're taking it from a funding source that actually is still operating in the negative if you take into account the fact that the county is still subsidizing the bond that the nursing home used. It took years and years to get the nursing home to a point where it was self-sustaining, and now we have an opportunity for the nursing home to be able to reimburse the county for the expenses that have been used in administration, HR, IT, on top of the fact that we've been subsidizing a building for them to operate out of. They're the only nursing home in St. Croix County out of 17-ish that gets a government subsidy to have a nice new building, which is great, but it's costing the taxpayers money. That is why I'm encouraging us not to use this, because this is being used to offset only a tiny portion of the $1.5 million that the taxpayers are going to pay for this building. And we can't, what happens if the nursing home starts operating at a loss again? We're going to be right back. We can't tax the nursing home to get enough levy or enough money to pay for the FTEs. We can go to an operating referendum to do that, but we can't do that if this is not profitable or in the black, which it isn't technically if you take this building general obligation bond. So I would suggest that if we're going to do this, let's not do this through the resolution as an operating, taking from an enterprise fund operational dollars that we still need to offset and pay for the debt service that is attached to this enterprise fund. And so I can't support it in this fashion. I can support it in that we truly give it one more year, because that's what it'll do. It'll put our feet to the fire if we take it out of undesignated fund balance, and it will also light the fire under extension's feet to give us things and work with us for the data that we want to have them accountable for. So I think that's a win-win without robbing this particular enterprise fund, which is still operating in the red.
I'd just like to interject here. I know that we're having a very meaningful discussion. I'm wondering if there's anyone who has not shared their opinion or spoken that would like to. Just out of curiosity, but let's try to wrap up our comments, because I think we're starting to get a little repetitive, if I may say so. Supervisor Hanson.
I have a point that hasn't been made yet. Okay. So I'd remind everybody that there was a petition that we haven't talked about, that if you calculate it, it's 555 citizens who live in St. Croix County took the trouble to sign to tell us a message that they'd like to see extension preserved, and that's worth noting. And I thank the people who put that together. I'd also like to point out what the gentleman farmer, Krishke, had to say. And I think this is really significant. What he didn't say about the Farm Bureau and the Farmers Union is that they are really, they're diverse. He said they're diverse groups, but what he didn't say that makes them diverse is that they tend to be politically segregated. And in this day and age, when you have politically segregated groups coming together on an issue like UW Extension, it's significant. It's really, really significant that the president of Farm Bureau and the president of Farmers Union can get together, agree on something profoundly. And in this room, we have a past president of Farmers Union and a past president of Farm Bureau, and they're sitting almost in each other's lap, and they're just agreeing 100% on this issue. Well, I'm sorry, Shar, I didn't mean to. But you know what I'm saying. So it means a heck of a lot that these two groups are agreeing. And I really think if you just take a second and think about how important it is, 555 citizens have asked us to do this, and they represent politically polarized groups. That means a heck of a lot. So thanks for listening.
Supervisor Fiedler.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a parliamentary question. It seems to me that Supervisor Burning would like to make an amendment that this is taken out of unassigned fund balance. No? Well, that's what I'm asking. But that's the suggestion that was out there, that might be one alternative, and then we have the pending amendment. So what would be the proper way, I'll ask the parliamentarian, to proceed at this point? What do we have to address first?
The amendment on the floor needs to be voted on first, and depending on what happens with that amendment, then Supervisor Burning can make another motion to amend.
Are there any final comments that anybody would like to make on the amendment itself? Final comments, Supervisor Carlson.
Just a quick question again for Administrator Witt. If we approve the one on the table, that doesn't bind us for the next budget. We can plan and get it in a budget ahead, correct?
Correct, yeah. It doesn't, nothing binds you into 2026. You're only approving any expense through 2025.
Okay, I think we've probably discussed enough. So we're ready to vote. The motion is to approve the amendment to the 2025 budget to allocate $185,000 to UW Extension from the fund balance. And no.
Yeah, let me clarify. It's not really from the fund
Fund
balance, 'cause
balance.
that's sort of what Supervisor Burnion's asking. It's coming from the money that was going to go to the debt service fund. You're kind of grabbing that money, using it for extension. The taxes will go up then by that penny per thousand on the mill rate in order to capture that, because we are allowed to increase taxes for debt service. So if I give less money to the debt service fund, they can go up by that penny to cover that. So that's what you're voting on. Just to clarify, is Supervisor Hansen's motion to fully fund UW Extension, moving the money from the healthcare campus to the general fund instead of to the debt service fund.
Okay, we're ready to vote.
Can I ask a procedural question first before we vote?
Yes.
Can we change the verbiage of what we're actually voting on our screen? Because right now it says we're taking it out of fund balance.
I just changed it, I'm sorry.
There's that better? No, yeah. Are you able to change it?
I did change it. It is changed. It should be changed.
Ken, can you refresh with the little circle?
There we go.
Oh, there.
Okay. Thank you. We have it right. Now we're ready to vote. The result is 9 in favor and 9 against, so that amendment fails.
Mr. Chair?
Supervisor Burning?
I'd like to make a motion to amend the budget to have $185,000 from the undesignated fund balance moved into UW Extension to fund it for the next year.
I'll second.
So the motion is to move $185,000 from fund balance to fund UW Extension, a second by Supervisor Shirley. Is that correct? Okay. Would anyone like to discuss? Okay, seeing no discussion, I think we're ready to vote on the motion to amend funding UW Extension through fund balance for 2025. Oh, save. That passes 17-1. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move on to our second business item. Resolution to increase Sheriff's Office civil process fees. Oh, I'm sorry. My mistake. I'm getting ahead of myself. I apologize. The motion on the floor is to approve the 2025 budget and establishing tax levy without amendment. Correct? So, what? You're right. You're right. So we're back to the original motion to approve the budget as proposed by the county administrator. with the amendment. With the amendment to fund UW Extension through fund balance.
Yep. Yeah, unless there's another amendment.
No. Okay, seeing none.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you do that now. Oh,
Oh.
I'm sorry. Yes, you can call on me.
Okay.
Could you call the screen? Okay, I also have an amendment, but it has nothing to do with extension. It has nothing to do with tax levy money. It deals only with ARPA money, so it's a very different brand of money we're talking about now. This is money that we got several years ago, $17 million worth that we allocated years ago for different things. Well, one of the things, and we have some money left over as a result of the many projects that money was allocated for. So now we have to do something with it. We have to do something with it now so that's allocated this year. So this is the time to allocate that last remaining money that's unspoken for at this point specifically. And so I'm proposing two things. One of them, I'm hopeful that they'll be easy. The one results from work I've done with the Community Justice Coordinating Council and the Criminal Subcommittee that deals with a case manager that's technically titled the Government Center Case Manager. And that person works with specifically people who have primarily drug addictions, alcohol addictions, and other things. They're either in the justice system, have just come out of the justice system, or they're about to go into the justice system. You've seen a letter from Judge Vlack, who is a multi-decade judge here, circuit judge here in the county, and I thought he made some glowing comments about the desperate need for this person to continue. We've already funded this position before, so this is not a new funding. This would just be an extension for 1 year for this person's funding out of ARPA money, so it's not taxpayer money. But guys, if you haven't seen Judge Vlack's letter, I'm just going to read about 2 sentences of it. For those persons who do recognize they have a problem, want services, they have no idea where to start. For years I've wished or prayed for some help that can be provided to these persons. In most recent years, that help has been expertly provided by Ms. Kara Aubert. Often I require persons to contact her within 24 hours of seeing me. In other words, they're in court, and often people ask for her contact information. I cannot adequately express the appreciation I have for the assistance that Ms. Aubert has provided to persons who need help, who want help, but have no idea where to start. The results she has obtained for a number of individuals is astounding. Ms. Kara Aubert is an incredible individual and an incredible public servant. I hope that there is some way to maintain her position. I just anecdotally, last night I spoke with our district attorney. I mentioned that I'd be raising this amendment. I want to make clear he did not necessarily endorse this amendment, but he did agree with me that this person provides an outstanding service to the county, and that if that person wasn't providing the service, many of these people that she does provide the service to would be in front of him, the district attorney, and that would not be a good scene. It would be costly for the county, costly for the citizen, and it's just obvious that this position could be extended for a year. And again, it's with ARPA money. We've already approved the position. If anybody wanted any more specific details, Mr. Ghali, as Justice Services Director, is waiting in the other room and can expand on this at length, but I don't think we need that. I think what I just gave is sufficient if you'd like to do it. The second part is something we've actually already addressed and already voted on, and a majority of the board has already voted positively on, and that is something that originally I'd raised with regard to, frankly, I'll just describe it as the underclass of this county that are desperately in need. They're either battered women, battered children, or people who have nowhere to go. They're homeless. They're at the bottom end of the economic spectrum. They've got nothing. And the ARPA specifically provides for them, and the language of what's being proposed mirrors the ARPA language. And I would just suggest that we take that last ARPA money that we've got. And I listened to the discussion last time we had this, and I tried to address it a little differently. So now there's not specified nonprofit entities that this money would go to, but it's allocated to the discretion of the county administrator to allocate up to $100,000 to entities that he approves. And implicit in that is that we've already had contracts with that are fulfilling county HHS functions for the most part, and he believes that these are worthy entities that have met the contract standards in the past, and he can create those contract standards in an extension of their contract if he wants to. So those are the 2 parts of the amendment. I'm done.
Okay, that was a long motion. But to summarize, the motion was to move to 2025 budget. I'm working on that, hold on. The motion was to amend the 2025 budget to allocate the $200,000 of ARPA dollars for these two particular purposes. And we have a second by Supervisor Leaf. Discussion. Supervisor Burning.
So I want to just point out that if we do this, this was an ARPA-funded position prior, I believe. It was known that this was a temporary position. We put forth in a referenda to the public. This position was not included on that referendum. If we move forward and do this, this is another just 1 year stopgap. We have one FTE, so now that's 2.5 to 2.75 that we will be debating on next year. Just on top of all the other requests that the department heads are going to bring to Ken. So this is just extending the Justice Support Service position for 1 more year without any indication that we're going to have the operational levy to cover this, let alone whatever health insurance and health care costs are, any other benefits and salary and the wage grid. So once again, when we're looking at this, this is one FTE that we have to take into account for next year. And just based on the last 15 minutes, this would put us at about 2.5 to 2.75. Now, the next one is talking about sending $100,000 of ARPA money to the administration office, specifically Administrator Witt, to disperse monies to organizations that he sees fit. Do you, Administrator Witt, I have a question for you. Do you already have contracts in place that would be in line and signed with the organizations that you would intend to send this to?
I know we do with at least one organization currently.
And that falls within what we can do here?
Serving disproportionately affected populations.
So we have one. How many other, what organizations would you send this $100,000 to?
Well, we currently contract with the Salvation Army for beds at times. We have an ongoing contract with them for that. So this would expand that contract. And then the other one is Turning Point, who also serves disproportionately affected populations. I don't know if we currently have a contract with them. Heather's nodding yes. She's more familiar with the contracts than I am.
With child support and behavioral health.
Okay, so we do have contracts in place with these organizations. And do we currently fund them at any level from county budget?
Yes.
And to what level?
The Salvation Army is about $10,000 to $15,000 per year.
And the Turning Point ones are grant-funded contracts.
Grant funded from St. Croix County directly, or is that federal, state to county, federal to state to county, state to county?
State to county.
State funded grants to the county and then pass through to Turning Point.
Correct.
And do we have those I didn't see those contracts in here. I mean, we have them. They're signed. And we don't have to make anything up. We don't have to like rush through and create any contracts.
We would have to do addendums or amendments.
Addendums are fine, but we don't. Okay. All right. So that is a little bit different of a story than what I understood the last couple of times that this was brought up. So that being said, I actually think number one, I can't support because it creates another structural deficit, creates another service that we just don't have the operating levy going forward. But number two, now that I have this new information, I think I can support that. So I would like to make, oh, that's right, because this is not separate. This is part, okay. Well, I can't support it as is, but I can support an alternate version and get part of these monies to our partners that need help.
Discussion, Supervisor Carlson.
Yeah, thank you. I guess I'm a little unclear. I thought if it came from ARPA, it wouldn't create a structural deficit because it's being paid through ARPA, which money has to be spent by 2026 anyways. If we don't spend it on this, what would we spend it on? I mean, that's kind of rhetorical. But am I correct where it doesn't create a deficit?
Yeah, it's not rhetorical at all. So if it's not spent on this, it's going to go towards the HVAC of the government center, because I'm not giving any money back to the federal government. So I will allocate everything before December 31st of this year. So the ARPA dollars, if we allocate $100,000 to cover this position, it's all fine through 2025. What Supervisor Burning's talking about is, what are we going to do in 2026? Because I have no ARPA dollars left in 2026.
And if we spend the money on this, we have to find alternative money for HVAC. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're already paying for the HVAC through the bond issue. And so I have money that can cover that. The bond issue, if it's not used on the HVAC, can be used on any other capital improvement projects that we have. So it all just shuffles down. So it's accounting.
Questions, discussion on the proposed amendment? Okay, seeing none, we're going to vote on the motion to amend the 2025 budget, and the two items are to amend to allocate $200,000 of ARPA dollars for these two particular purposes. One, to continue funding a justice support services position, as well as allocating another $100,000 to, where's the wording I'm looking for? Where? That's what I meant, disproportionately affected populations. The vote was 9-9, so that motion to amend fails. You certainly may, Supervisor Burning.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion to approve $100,000 out of ARPA money and move that to Purpose 2. Wait, I got to reread this. Hold on one second. So move to amend the proposed 2025 budget to allocate $100,000 of ARPA dollars currently slated for Government Center HVAC to Purpose 2 to fund contracted agencies as determined by the county administrator to serve disproportionately affected populations.
Second.
And do we have a second? Supervisor Lind. Okay, discussion. Not that we already haven't discussed it.
You know what's going to happen.
Okay, seeing no discussion, we're going to vote on this right now. The vote on the motion to amend. And that motion passes 17-1. Okay, so now we are back to the original motion to pass the 2025 budget as amended. Is there any further discussion, any further amendments? I know everybody's getting tired, aren't they? Okay, given no further discussion, we are ready to vote on the 2025 budget and tax levy as amended. And that motion passes 18-0. Thank you unanimously. Okay. Are you happy, Ken? Okay. So now we are ready to move on to the second business item, the resolution to increase the sheriff's office civil process fees. Supervisor Fiedler.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that resolution. This should be really easy. It's an inflation adjustment. It came out as committee 5-0 after a long discussion with the sheriff. It's what the other counties around us are doing.
Supervisor, Supervisor Adams gets the second. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on the resolution to increase the sheriff's oh, no, wrong one. We could. Let's give her a second. There we go. The motion to approve resolution to increase sheriff's office civil process fees.
Burning and Octino. Oh, and burning. Oh, right.
No, I'm good. I'm the sheriff's one. Lies, it's fake. And I already voted.
Oh, there it goes.
And that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we're on to our last business item, consideration of a resolution encouraging cooperation with federal and state agencies. Do we have a motion? Supervisor Shirley?
I will make a motion to approve the resolution establishing coordination between St. Croix County and the federal and state agencies regarding projects involving federal and state funding.
And who was the second from? Second from Supervisor Burning. Who would like to discuss this or explain it first? Someone from Community Development. Right, Supervisor Shirley?
Yes, this resolution was talked about because this is the first step in the process because we do not have anything in our new comprehensive plan that we just passed through that talks about any coordination between any governmental entities above us. It talks about how we deal with the cities and the villages and everything below the county government. So this fills in that gap. It's also a federal law that agencies that are looking at doing projects in our county are required to look at our comp plan. And if our comp plan does not show this, then they do not necessarily need to coordinate with us. But if it says that in there with the word coordination, which is a federal, has a special designated definition in the federal laws that if we have that word in our comp plan, then they need to come to us. So that is why we're looking at this. And
I'd like to ask our corporation counsel to weigh in on the wording of this particular resolution.
So when I reviewed this resolution, I did take out some of the federal code regulations that were referenced, only because it didn't exactly line up with what the language was. And so there are several federal codes that indicate that the federal government, shall provide for meaningful public involvement with state and local officials. The only thing is we have to remember the supremacy clause, right? The federal laws are the law of the land and must be followed. And so while I think this resolution was meant to put in place to urge the federal government to coordinate with local governments, I don't know if there's any federal code regulation that says they shall. I looked through a bunch of the different code sections this morning. There is 43 USC 1712 paren C paren 9, which addresses land use plans, and that's the language I just read, that the secretary, federal secretary, would then provide meaningful public involvement with state and local government officials, both elected and appointed, in the development of land use programs, land use regulations, and land use decisions for public lands. So this resolution is urging the federal government to work with us. Again, the supremacy clause, which we talked about during the refugee resettlement, we can't force the federal government to do things unless it's in a code section, but this is urging them to meet and coordinate with us.
Supervisor Burning. Oh, Supervisor Otino?
I'm totally against this resolution from the standpoint that we're demanding that the federal government cooperates with us, and it's absolutely worded wrong. And the other thing is, in the transportation department, Robbie Croix I think he wakes up in the morning, before he eats his breakfast, he's looking to see what monies are out there and what's available. So now you're telling us you're going to handcuff the director of the transportation department. Yes, it is. That's exactly the way I see it. He needs to be free to work with the federal government and the state government for all the money that we can get for our transportation department. And when I saw this, there's not a problem here that exists. We're creating something to address a problem that's in the future. And I'm totally against this, and I will not support it. Thank you.
Supervisor Telejohn.
I'll make a motion to postpone this to a date uncertain. This is out of our purview, and I don't believe this is something we should be getting into.
There's a motion to postpone indefinitely. Is that correct? Is that a second? Who is Supervisor Otino? Discussion.
I don't think there is a discussion on a motion to table.
There's no discussion.
You can discuss motion to table.
You can discuss it.
I can't
discuss discussion then. At this point.
You've already heard my opinion. There's no reason to.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, Supervisor Burning.
So the whole point of this resolution is to add into our I'm sorry?
Point of order. On a question to put on the table, we cannot debate.
Yeah, okay.
Is it postponed indefinitely?
So if you look under the subsidiary motions, the motion to postpone indefinitely is listed as number 2, and under debate, it says yes. So you can debate a motion to postpone indefinitely.
So the whole purpose of this resolution isn't to tell the department head of transportation or community development or anyone that they are handcuffed to go get federal money. What this is part of the St. Croix National Scenic Riverway was part of a much larger plan to clean up all of our riverways and really the environment, which was a great thing because it really cleaned this up. Cleaned up the St. Croix River. But what was added into that legislation 40-some years ago was a little piece that requires federal agencies that if in a comprehensive plan, a local governmental body, which is in this case is us, requires coordination with that body from the federal government if they come in here. Even though they have supremacy, it still requires them to take into account what our comprehensive plan is laid out. So, for example, if we said we want no more interstate highways in St. Croix County, and we want no international airports in St. Croix County, in our comprehensive plan, we put that in there. And the federal government, in their wisdom, said, we want to place a new international airport just north of Baldwin, Wisconsin. Well, you might want to have some say. This is putting it into our comprehensive plan that requires the federal government to take into account. That doesn't mean that we tell them what to do, but it does go into the official record. And I did some homework and some research on this in multiple cases. So for instance, a city councilman, when it came time to, there was I don't remember the exact example, this was like 6 months ago, wrote a letter with City of Hudson letterhead to the agency that was doing something regarding the dog track. And I can't remember exactly what it is, I'm so sorry. That was inserted into the official record, and the government agency involved with the coordination on that was required to take that into account. Now, that doesn't mean that the city councilman, swayed or made it so that the federal government stopped what they were doing, but they must take it into consideration. This resolution is made so that we can maintain some semblance of local control, so that we can have a say when the federal government says, I want to put an international airport. I'm not saying that that's the case, but we're going to use money to put an international airport north of Baldwin. We have some say. And that could be as little as putting a federal dog park north of, I don't know, a state park north of Baldwin. We need to have some say in whether or not we want that inside of our comprehensive plan. So if you table this or postpone it indefinitely, that's on you. If you want to make changes to it, though, so that you feel like it's no longer handcuffing, the transportation director, but in no way, shape, or form is this used to handcuff anything St. Croix County is doing. It's simply to make sure that it is written that we as a county board want the federal government to coordinate with our government, our governmental body, in a way that meets what we have in our comprehensive plan. Without this, they are not required to consider it.
Supervisor Shirley?
To the point of Robbie and transportation, I did talk to him today. This does not handcuff him in any way. There's one line that I misspoke, and now after this we'll have to do an amendment if it's not tabled. There's a line on line 10 that calls out local government. It should say county government instead of local government, and that would free up what Robbie was talking about with any issues with what he sees in this resolution.
Other discussion, Supervisor Rotino.
It still strikes me that in here there's a couple of times that it says demands. The County Board of Supervisors demands at all federal agencies and state agencies. Who are we to demand that? I don't understand that part. And again, this is another resolution that's come to the board that hasn't been properly vetted at the committee and taken care of in that way. And now we're looking at an amendment, and I pray it's not going to be an amendment on top of an amendment. I think it needs to go back to the board, to the committee, and come out and have that straightened up before it gets here, and we have to deal with it. It's not. It needs to be taken care of at the committee. It was.
Just a clarification, I believe this was considered by the full Community Development Committee and was passed. So that's why it's on the board agenda. Supervisor Van Summeren.
A couple of things. First of all, bring on the airport. I have some land north of Baldwin. And I've got room for the park, too, if you want to get that in there. Speaking with Jason Chizik today, he told me that his staff is working on including this in the comprehensive plan that will be brought to the board. It'll be brought to, if everything goes well, be brought to the CDC on November 14 and to the board on the February meeting, I believe, but it could be January meeting, one of them. So if this goes away, it's going to be in there. So I think that killing this right now would be good. If it has to come up again, it can come up again, but it will be addressed in that. Thank you.
Other comments, discussion? So the motion on the floor is to postpone this resolution indefinitely. And we're ready to vote on that?
Hey, John, can we get Jeopardy music?
And that motion to postpone passes 13-5. Okay. All right, that concludes our business items. Any requests for future agenda items? Supervisor Otino.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I know that the report from CASA comes to the committees, but I would like to have a report to the board from the CASA with updates on case histories and their fundraising efforts going forward. Thank you.
Any other requests for future agenda items? Supervisor Rice.
I would like to see us get an update at some point. I understand that there's a committee involved in artificial intelligence, and I'd like to, I don't know if they're keeping minutes or if there's a report out, but I'd love to have an update from them.
Supervisor Burning, would you like, is there anything to report at this point?
No, he can't.
Okay.
Not allowed to discuss.
Not allowed to discuss. Okay. Any other requests for future agenda items? Okay, seeing none, any county clerk's report? Thank you for all your work last night, Christine. We appreciate it. Announcements, happy birthday to our pal Supervisor Otino. Also, I wanted to mention, I know tonight's meeting was rather long, but the December meeting, we're planning on doing a legislative agenda exercise. And we thought we would do it as part of the board meeting rather than have a separate committee of the whole meeting. So if you like to have a separate committee of the whole meeting, now is your chance to say so. I see a lot of.
I mean, panel one?
No. You may ask a question, Supervisor.
So I would say, would we be able to have a coherent discussion with our legislators here if we don't
Not with
coalesce
our
beforehand?
legislators. What we're doing is, in the admin committee, we're going to be reviewing our legislative priorities and then bringing those to the full board so that everybody's on board with, so we can identify, for example, maybe our top 4 or 5 items. Okay, and so that way then we're ready to go to our legislators, and then we're also ready preparing ourselves for the legislative days down at the WCA conference.
We just wanted to warn you, it could be an hour where we go through, because there's a lot of, the WCA has a lot of different recommendations that we need to narrow down to something. But I mean, it could take an hour to get through them all.
We just thought it was better to do it during that meeting rather than as a separate meeting. Okay, any other announcements? Okay, it's 8:31, we're adjourned.
Good job, Robert.
Phew.